The scene opens on a landscape buried in blinding white snow. Yin Xian's voice rings out low, rasping, but heavy with gravity. I am a man from a civilized world. A place called Earth. Civilized, huh? Just then, a young boy steps in, clutching a basket of steam buns. The kid puts on a pitying face. Oh my god. Grandpa, you look so pathetic. My mother told me to bring this over for you. Hearing this, Yin Xian slowly turns his head. Is that so? My thanks. The boy replies with obedient cheer. Don't mention it. Grandpa, just get well soon so you can make more soap to sell, okay? The boy turns and strolls out of the shack, leaving a trail of small footprints stamped into the cold snow. Yin Xian, a man from the modern, civilized world. The thought makes him grind his teeth in fury. 50 years. It has been 50 long, hellish years since he was cast into this accursed world. A hazy memory begins to surface in Yin Xian's mind. That's right. It was the day of the company retreat. Manager Kim, and the other colleagues were all on the same bus. Then, disaster or landslide buried them alive. When he opened his eyes, he was in a realm beyond imagination. There were three-tailed foxes the size of houses and two-headed, red-scaled serpents as long as battleships. Even more impossible to believe were the superhumans soaring through the sky like gods. It was a world Yin Xian had only ever glimpsed in fiction. He had been swept into a realm straight out of a Tianxia Cultivation novel. But despite the strangeness of this land, every single one of his colleagues began to live lives of glorious prosperity. Everyone. That is, except for him. The local deities beings like descended immortals were shocked to discover that his co-workers possessed mythical potential. Because of their latent gifts, each of them was whisked away to the heavens. Only Yin Xian and Manager Kim were left behind in the mud of this chaotic mortal realm. The scene shifts to ancient houses under a clear blue sky. Truth be told, he had held onto a sliver of hope that a miracle would happen for him, too. But reality was cruel. Neither Yin Xian nor Manager Kim possessed a shred of special ability. In the end, a man with no knowledge of this world like Yin Xian was forced into backbreaking manual labor just to survive another day. By the 6th month, Manager Kim snapped, declaring he couldn't live like a dog anymore. He spent their last pennies on cheap, trashy martial arts manuals sold on the roadside to practice. The unthinkable happened. Within a month, the manager actually mastered the martial arts. He stepped into the ranks of the Zhonghu warriors, was recruited by the imperial court, and gained access to profound, high-level secret arts. He rapidly ascended to become a supreme master and vanished into the legendary martial world. Wu Sun simply left, leaving Yin Xian behind, abandoned him all alone in this place. Remembering this, Yin Xian feels a bitter pang of curiosity. Will a miracle ever come for me, too? But in the end, nothing came for Yin Xian. Nothing but hands scarred and calloused from decades of toil. 50 years have passed. Now, Yin Xian is just a withered old man from Earth, dying of the cold. Suddenly, Yin Xian hacks up a mouthful of bright crimson blood, yet he refuses to yield. He has struggled to survive here alone for so long. He painstakingly learned the language, learned to write, and fought tooth and nail to make a living. He scraped together enough to buy land and build a roof over his head. By selling soap made from lye and ash, Yin Xian even earned a bit of silver. In a world resembling medieval China, soap was an unseen invention. But his hard-earned invention was stolen. Thieves swiped his formula and customers, and thugs beat him out of the marketplace. Now he is a pariah, rejected by the entire world, silently waiting for the Reaper to claim him. Snapping back to reality, Yin Xian let out a wail. Oh heavens. How am I supposed to survive this? His hoarse voice dissolves into the void, teeth chattering violently. I tried so hard. What more? What more do you want from me? Tears burst from Yin Xian's eyes as he chokes out the words. Why? Why me? Even if I wasn't the chosen one, even if I'm not a protagonist, I didn't deserve to have everything stolen from me like this. The bitterness is overwhelming. I don't even have the strength to keep my eyes open. In his final moment, he casts his gaze outside. If only I was a little stronger. If I just had one more chance. Just one more chance. And so, Yin Xian died a lonely death. But then suddenly a violent fit of dry coughing racks his body. He snaps his head up to see a clear blue sky, not the white blindness of snow. Confused, Yin Xian looks down at his palm smooth, unwrinkled skin. What is this? Why am I still alive? Wait, these are the clothes I wore on Earth. At the same time, Deputy Wu clutches his head and groans. Oh my god, what is happening? Assistant Kang looks around in panic. Here, where is here? Witnessing this, Yin Xian's eyes suddenly ignite with understanding. He realizes the truth: he wasn't discarded in this world because he was powerless. In that split second, Yin Xian reaches a conclusion and he has awakened the power of regression. The scene shifts to a lush, green grassy plain. At this very moment, Wu Sun is gazing around, completely bewildered. He mutters in his throat, "We were just on our way to the seminar." How did it end up like this? Yin Xian frowned slightly, memories flooding back. It's the first day. This is definitely the first day we fell into this freakish world. We were driving to the workshop when the landslide hit. That's right. When we were swept away, I saw a flash of lightning. The realization hits Yin Xian with a sudden sense of helplessness. 50 years have passed. My memory is fading. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the fog. Assistant Yin. Yin Xian shows no reaction. He just tilts his head, lost in thought. I've regressed. So, how am I supposed to live this time? In regression novels, people use future knowledge to strike it rich. But me, aside from making soap, I don't know how to do a single useful thing. Just then, Mingxin grabs Yin Xian's shoulder hard. He screams in rage. Assistant Yin. Yin Xian slowly turns around. Section Chief, I apologize. I was just disoriented for a moment. Wham! Suddenly, Mingxun punches him straight in the face. The onlookers freeze in dead silence. Mingxun glares at Yin Xian, screaming furiously. Hey, you lunatic, you dare fall asleep while driving on a mountain road? You almost got us all killed. Hearing this, Yin Xian flinches. It's been so long since anyone called him assistant that he forgot it was his own title. Mingxun glares daggers at him, his voice grim. Hey, Assistant Yin, you want to get fired the second you arrive. Yin Xian observes him blankly. Section Chief, Quan Mingxun. That's right, it's him, this son of a bitch. The nephew of CEO Quan Ming, my old boss. 32 years old, rode his uncle's coattails to become Section Chief, a useless parasite. Sensing danger, Deputy Manager Wu rushes over to intervene. Come on, let's not blow this out of proportion. The landslide was a natural disaster. There was nothing Assistant Yin could do about it. That only makes Mingxun crazier. He grits his teeth and screams. Is the Deputy Manager blind? You aren't angry? This lunatic fell asleep at the wheel. That's why we're in this mess. Meanwhile, Yin Xian slowly sits up, muttering to himself. True. I was driving while drowsy. But that was only because Quan Mingxun dumped all his work on me, forcing me to pull all-nighters. Yin Xian locks eyes on him. Now that he remembers, the one assigned to drive today was actually Quan Mingxun. The man continues to howl like a starving tiger. It's all because of this retard that we're in this hellhole. In stark contrast to Mingxun's rage, Yin Xian drifts into his own world. Memories from 50 years ago are flooding back, sharper than ever. Back then, in my panic, I blindly apologized to Quan Mingxun. I genuinely believed it was my fault. For 50 long years after that, my life was nothing but a pathetic chain of apologies. When bandits beat me and stole my money, I apologized. When martial arts villains humiliated me, I apologized. When corrupt officials stripped me of everything under the guise of taxes, I apologized. After endless humiliation, Yin Xian learned one hard truth. If you can't defeat the strong, you must endure. But right now, Yin Xian pushes off his knee and stands up. Without hesitating, he calls out, Section Chief Quan! Standing tall, Yin Xian speaks with icy calm. I understand you're angry, but playing the blame game right now is pointless. So Mingxun snaps. He raises his fist high. What did you say, you uneducated piece of trash? Watch your mouth. Mingxun throws his full weight into a punch, aimed straight at Yin Xian's face, screaming like a rabid dog. Are you begging for a beating? Yin Xian watches the fist come. Every instinct screams the lesson. With those you can dominate, you never bow your head. Without a second thought, Yin Xian swings his hand. The onlookers drop their jaws in sheer shock. Yin Xian's eyes turn cold. In my past life, I was beaten by martial masters countless times. Suddenly, he drives a fist into Mingxun's chin. I went up mountains to pick herbs and got thrashed by bandits. In bad harvests, starving mobs broke my bones. When the government came, I had no money, so they beat me to a pulp. Snapping back to reality, Yin Xian pins Mingxun hard against the dirt. In that spiral of senseless violence, I learned something people like Quan Mingxun will never understand. True violence. Striking the eye spikes the victim's fear to the absolute limit. Beat them enough, and the truth spills out automatically. Just as predicted, Mingxun starts stammering. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Yin Xian might not have the mythical powers immortals crave, or the ultimate techniques of the martial world, but he has the power to rewrite his own destiny. A moment later, while Mingxun clutches his head and moans, Deputy Wu steps forward nervously. Hey, Assistant Yin, no matter how angry you are, you can't just beat up a colleague like that. Facing the question, Yin Xian simply lowers his head. Yes, I admit it. I lost control of my temper for a moment. If I frightened anyone, I apologize. Yin Xian bows deeply. Inside, he's calculating cold-heartedly. Doesn't matter. I'll never see these people again anyway. Yin Xian keeps his voice low. As the driver, I accept full responsibility for this accident. Hearing this, Deputy Wu softens his tone. All right, look, we can't blame it all on you. The section chief was crossing the line, but Assistant Yin, that reaction was excessive. You need to apologize. Hearing this, Yin Xian doesn't react. On Hien kept his head bowed low, body bent in submission, but his mind was racing. I have to keep dealing with Deputy Manager Kim, no matter what happens. He answered instantly, his voice smooth and eager. You're absolutely right, sir. Deputy Manager Kim, with your potential, you just need to learn martial arts to become unrivaled under the heavens. If I suck up to him in this life, I might just catch some crumbs of his success later. The thought made An Hyen's eyes gleam. A scheme formed in his mind. I need to get on his good side, right now. Immediately. And Hien extended a polite hand toward Minhwan. Manager Tuan, I was out of line earlier. Please accept my apology. Minhwan gritted his teeth, hissing under his breath, "You little bastard." But when he saw in Hien's eyes, he froze. There was a dark, threatening glint in them. Minhwan's face went pale. He immediately turned away, avoiding An Hien's gaze entirely. After a moment of silence, Vo Huan looked out into the distance and made a decision. Let's walk out of this forest first. We need to see if there's a village or any people nearby. An Hien observed him quietly. Logically, that makes sense. He muttered to himself, but Deputy Manager? You need to throw logic out the window in a place like this. Vo Huan suddenly pointed. Look, isn't that something over there? Deputy Manager No looked up. Ah, yes, this is the realm where immortals seek eternal life. The Jianghu. Where the strong wield blades for fame and fortune. A dog-eat-dog world. The group came to a halt by a river. This place was the Datianhuang Forest. There were no villages, no cities, no nations anywhere near here. After a while, An Hien spoke up carefully. Manager, it's getting dark. To avoid wild beasts, we should find a safe spot and build a fire for the night. Vo Huan nodded in agreement. Good thinking. But shouldn't we try to find the bus first? We need a rest, but all our luggage for the conference is in there. And Hien's expression tightened slightly. Too bad. That bus is gone for good. I've regressed, so I know what happened, but no one would believe me if I told them. Better to let them look and fail than waste my breath. And Hien suggested, let's split up then. One group finds a nearby shelter, the other looks for the vehicle. Everyone meets back here before it gets fully dark. Night fell quickly. Inside a rocky cave, the flickering light of a fire danced on the walls. Assistant Kang spoke up, her voice trembling with confusion. I just don't get it. Oh, the bus fell into a landslide like that. How did we all get out? But the bus just vanished. Vo Hen chimed in. It is bizarre. What on earth is going on here? Kim Dian suddenly cried out. Hey, are these wild chestnuts? An Hien turned with a faint smile. Crunchy. Right, I found a whole bunch. Dig in, everyone. Vo Huan couldn't help but praise him. Honestly, we should be panicking right now, but thanks to Assistant 2, the mood is actually pretty good. I knew it back at the company. You really are hardworking. He glanced at Minhwan, lowering his voice, and about Assistant 2 driving while exhausted. I remember he had to pull a night shift the day before. That's why he was so tired. And Kim Dean looked at An Hien, a small smile playing on her lips. Exactly. Our assistant is a busy little bee. Hugh Thu smiled gently too. Thanks to Assistant 2 finding this cave, it almost feels like we're just camping, doesn't it? Assistant Kang nodded. It really does. Listening to them, An Hien thought to himself. In my last life, I wandered all night before I found a place like this. He put on a humble face. I just got lucky, that's all. Someone else chimed in teasingly. Oh, listen to you, acting all innocent. Enjoy the praise while you can, kid. And Han narrowed his eyes, the corner of his mouth curving up. That's right, enjoy this moment. Keep laughing. Because tonight is probably the last time you ever will. As the moon shone brighter, and Hien suddenly bowed his head low, his entire body trembling violently. Respectful. Respectful greetings to the master of the forest. A three-tailed fox looked down at An Hien coldly. You humans carry a very peculiar scent. I have lived 1,500 years, yet I have never encountered your kind before. Just then, Kim Dean woke up groggily, asking worriedly, Assistant 2, what's that noise? Suddenly, Deputy Manager Ngo screamed, Monster! And the rest of the group joined in, shrieking in terror. It's a real monster. And Hien spun around, shouting a warning. Everyone show respect to the Forest Master, kneel down now. The three-tailed fox growled low in its throat. You lowly humans, every time I see you, you are foolish and rude. Normally, this venerable one would tear you into 4 pieces, but now, since one of you knows how to pay proper respects, I will spare your lives. However, if you wish to shelter in my territory, there must be a sacrifice. If just one of you offers up an arm, I will allow you to stay. And Hien's body wouldn't stop shaking. He gritted his teeth. In my last life, we knew nothing. Everyone screamed. We provoked the fox, and it tore us all to shreds. But this time, because I bowed, the spirit fox is pleased. It's different from the past. It doesn't want all our limbs. The fox suddenly snarled, its voice dripping with malice. So, who will be the one to give up their arm? Thinking fast, An Hien's eyes lit up. He hatched a plan, one that only cost a single arm, a small sacrifice. Considering the cultivators arriving in 2 days would heal the wound completely. His gaze locked onto the herbs. I've even prepared pain-killing spirit herbs. Without a shred of hesitation, An Hien thrust his arm toward the three-tailed fox. I offer you my arm. The group gasped, frozen in shock at his sheer audacity. The beast paused, impressed. You understand etiquette. Since you are so polite, I shall eat slowly, to spare you some pain. Crunch! The three-tailed fox clamped its jaws down, tearing into Eunhyun's arm and devouring the fresh, bloody meat. The others turned away, stomachs churning, unable to watch the gruesome feast. Eunhyun broke into a cold sweat, agony ripping through him. He desperately grabbed the pain-killing spirit herbs, but the torment was earth-shattering. As Eunhyun frantically chewed the ginseng, the fox licked its lips, its long tongue darting out to deliver a review. Strange texture. I thought it would be delicious, but it tastes just like those mediocre humans. Too many impurities in the blood. Disgusting. Eunhyun felt a wave of relief. The herbs were working. He turned, voice trembling and weak. My apologies for the unworthy offering. The fox's expression softened, accepting the humility. Since you have manners, I grant you sanctuary here for 7 days. My spiritual power will protect you. You will not die. With that, it launched into the sky, debris flying everywhere. From the distance, the group rushed over. Moo-hoon screamed. Seo, assistant Seo. Panic erupted. Eunhyun calmly signaled them. Let's get inside first. I'll explain everything. Once safe inside, he laid it out. I met that fox at dawn when I left the cave. It spoke to me. The group exchanged terrified glances. Is this the martial arts world? Moo-hoon asked, face twisted in confusion. You're saying we're in the Murim world? I've lived a long life, but I never expected this madness. Eunhyun clutched his bandaged stump, breathing heavy. One arm was the price for 7 days apiece. A shaky voice asked, 7 days. What happens after that? Eunhyun lowered his voice, staring them down. We offer another sacrifice. Obviously, the stress is getting to me. My eyelids are heavy. I need to rest. Please, excuse me. Night fell. The moon turned a blood-red crimson. Inside the cave, voices raised in anger. Chief Jian, how can you even think that? Assistant Seo sacrificed his own arm to save us. Another chimed in. Chief Jian, even I can't defend you on this one. Myung-hoon roared back, furious. So in 7 days, who's volunteering to get ripped apart by a fox you? Deputy O's voice cut through sternly. Assistant Seo isn't useless. He found us shelter and food, didn't he? Myung-hoon shrugged, cold and pragmatic. Fine. Then we spend the next 7 days learning everything we can from Eunhyun. His tone dropped to a chilling whisper. He's lost an arm anyway. With that body, he won't survive long. So next time, it makes the most sense to let Seo Eunhyun sacrifice himself again. Eunhyun stood in the shadows, listening. So, because I'm crippled, they plan to chop me up piece by piece, week by week, to feed the fox. To feed crack. He squeezed the rock in his hand, rage boiling over. Bastards. It's disgusting. Absolutely revolting. With the violence ingrained in me from 50 years of beatings in my past life, even with one arm, I could easily slaughter a guy like John Myung-hoon. In that moment, the image of murdering him flashed vividly before his eyes. Eunhyun hesitated. The question looped in his mind. Should I just kill him now? After a long pause, he slowly set the rock down. He exhaled. No. Eunhyun calculated coldly. His brain is fried from fear. If I act too brutal now, I'll lose Deputy Kim's trust later. Suddenly, someone shouted across the cave. Hey, John Myung-hoon, unless you want your ankle broken again, shut your mouth. Eunhyun smirked faintly. Right, they aren't all bad, just chaotic. Darkness swallowed the forest, only a sliver of moonlight remaining. The scene shifted to the next day, amidst lush greenery. Unlike the fox that took an arm, the two-headed snake demanded only a mouthful of blood. In his past life, it had drained Deputy O dry after he'd already lost his limbs and left him for dead. Hearing the demand, Deputy O didn't hesitate. He rolled up his sleeve. If it's just a mouthful of blood? He stepped forward, offering his arm voluntarily, and moments later, the snake recoiled, spitting violently. Vile, disgusting. I've never tasted human blood this awful. Facing Deputy Manager O's burning glare, Eunhyun just silently scoffed. The blood of a modern office worker soaked in cholesterol and nicotine? Obviously, it would taste like trash. Right then, he abruptly turned. Team Leader John, want to go pick some herbs with me? The man blinked, stunned. Huh, you're asking me? Eunhyun tilted his head. Well, aren't you hungry? Minhoon nodded vigorously. Starving. Seeing the hook was set, Eunhyun reeled him in. I know exactly which fruits and herbs are safe to eat. Come on, follow me. He put up a guard, looking skeptical. Huh, you'd really do that for me? Eunhyun leaned in close, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Look, I'm planning to sacrifice my arm to the fox next week anyway. If I die, at least someone should know how to survive in this hellhole. Minhoon's face lit up with relief. Really, you mean it. Thank you, seriously. Thank you so much. Hearing this, Eunhyun chuckled darkly in his mind. Don't mention it. The fox isn't coming, and what you learn, you'll never get to use it. The sun beat down, blazing hot overhead. Suddenly, Eunhyun roared, veins popping in his neck. Team Leader John, how many times do I have to say it? Don't touch that fruit. Are you deaf? Why won't you listen to me? Minhoon flinched, turning back with a stammer. So sorry, But Eunhyun wasn't done. One bite of that and you're dead meat. Do you understand? Under the guise of guidance. He had the man crawling through dirt and climbing trees like a monkey. After a while, Minhoon was gasping for air. Wait, hold on. Let me rest a second. Digging this long. My arms are killing me. Eunhyun smirked internally. This is exactly the kind of newbie hazing you pulled on me when I first joined the company, so team leader. He kept his voice cold and commanding. We have to finish before sunset, take a quick breather, then get back to work. The scene shifted to a magnificent rushing stream. Suddenly, Minhoon couldn't help but scream. What on earth is this mountain ginseng? He clutched the herb, eyes wide, stammering at its abnormal size. Is this actually real ginseng? Eunhyun nodded with absolute certainty. Yeah, looks like it. Searching his memories, he identified it. It looked exactly like the legendary yellow pearl ginseng. Since this land is overflowing with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, a ginseng that's usually pinky-sized grows into a monster like this. It's trash to an immortal, but for a martial artist, it's a treasure that boosts internal energy. This will be very useful for Deputy Manager Kim later on. Eunhyun kept his face serious, pointing. Look, there are 2 more roots over there. Minhoon giggled like a child. Wow, so many. Is it really okay if we clean them all out? Eunhyun replied instantly. Probably. Take off your shirt and wrap them up, carefully. In a flash, the afternoon sun began to dip below the horizon. Eunhyun glanced at the sky. It's time. He called out softly. All right, let's head back. Suddenly, boom, a blinding light erupted. Minhoon collapsed, writhing on the ground. Over by the camp, Deputy Manager O was retching, vomiting violently. Assistant Kang was next. She let out a blood-curdling scream. Woo-hoon rushed over, panic in his eyes. What is it? What's happening? Why are you all screaming? From high above, Bi-hoo's voice boomed with power. Surprising. Truly surprising. I never expected to find raw jade gems like these here. Jupo cut in coldly. Get lost. Bi-hoo, this whole lot belongs to me. The other figure pouted, mocking. Wow, you really have no conscience. Do you? Woo-hoon stared up, trembling with suspicion. Who are these people? Jupo ignored him, scanning the group with a critical eye. Aside from those 3, no one has a spirit root. The rest are just trash mortals. Suddenly, Bi-hoo reached out. A sphere of energy formed instantly, firing a bolt of lightning straight into Minhoon. Woo-hoon screamed in horror. Team leader Jian. The cultivator looked down at his own palm and beamed with delight. I can't believe it. The heavenly golden lightning body. Jupo shoved forward. Move aside. It's my turn. The slow, eerie strumming of a zither filled the air. Assistant Kang clutched her head in agony. Her body arched back, a wretched scream tearing from her throat. Jupo couldn't hide his excitement, roaring like a madman. The Ghost Dao sound transformation immortal root. Heavens, does such a thing actually exist? Not stopping there, a heavy foot slammed into the ground. A burly man gripped Deputy Manager O's shoulder, grinning wide. The one seal saint body. O froze, completely bewildered. What is going on? The man chuckled. How can a physique like this even exist in this world? The heaven-opening green gate will take the 3 of you as disciples. Each of you possesses talent enough to flip the heavens and earth upside down. Well, what do you say? Deputy Manager O trembled violently, terror and confusion rising in his chest. I can't breathe. What is this terrifying pressure if I say no? I'm dead. But Jupo cut in with an offer. Forget them. Join the Black Ghostbone Valley. We have every technique imaginable. Immortality, earth-shattering power, endless wealth. In 100 years, the world will be yours. Bi-hoo scowled. What kind of nonsense is that? Our golden body, heavenly lightning gate is the only choice. Woo-hoon stammered, intervening. Wait, please. Noble sirs, can you take us out of this forest? If we stay here, we're all going to die. Hearing this, the cultivator popped the cork off a small vial. Bi-hoo waved his hand dismissively, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Of course mortals like you are worried. But really? Did you think trash with bodies like yours dared to step into the Ascension fragrance realm? The man shifted his gaze, locking eyes with Ontrang. Some fools get ripped apart by foxes. Did you offer up that arm yourself for a mortal? You've got guts. He replied instantly. Thank you, my lord. Before departing, the man left a parting warning. On my way here, I slaughtered every demon and monster in the Ascension Incense Valley. For the next 10 years, this place will be peaceful. Seeing this, Vo Huan scrambled after them, screaming, Wait a second. Please, my lords, we still don't know how to get out of here. Right after, Vo Han let out a miserable wail, calling for his lost colleagues. Chief Tone, Deputy Ngo, Assistant Kang. Meanwhile, Anhien lowered his head, a slight frown creasing his brow. It was exactly the same 50 years ago. No matter how much we screamed until our throats bled, they just walked away, looking at us like we were nothing but insects. And Hien glanced down. Well, at least this time. He gave me back an arm. Nearby, Vio Huan groaned in despair. Damn it. What are we supposed to do now, stuck in the middle of this godforsaken wilderness? He couldn't shake the rising panic. And what are those stars is there? Something over there. The next day, the first heavy rains lashed down on the group. At the same time, Huethu hacked violently, a streak of blood staining the corner of her lips. Kim Dean turned to An Hien, terror in her eyes. Ass. Assistant 2. Assistant Go isn't looking good. Is there any herb that can help? What do we do? He suddenly dropped a cryptic hint. Just wait a little longer. Who knows? Someone might just show up to cure her. Kim Dean stared at him, completely baffled by his riddle. What? Right on cue. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed nearby, followed by an unfamiliar voice. Mortals inside the Ascension Incense Valley. When true dragons fight, ants get crushed. Terrified by the stranger's imposing presence, Vo Huan stumbled back. Who are you? The stranger smirked, his voice dropping an octave as he introduced himself. The Sea Dragon King. Tuluwat. A nervous chuckle escaped Vo Huan from inside the cave. Call wind, summon rain. Tuluwat remained impassive, nodding in confirmation. Precisely. Suddenly, amidst the stillness of the heavens, a storm was summoned. I followed the source of that anomaly here, and it turns out that unconscious girl's the one who cast Call Wind Summon Rain. Tuluwat looked genuinely puzzled. A mortal girl with 0 spiritual roots. How could she use such a divine ability? And she didn't even do it on purpose. It's bizarre. Hearing this, An Hien scoffed with visible irritation. We're the ones who should be confused here. We haven't been here long, yet one high master after another just happens to show up and snatch our colleagues away. Faced with the accusation, Tuluwat couldn't hold back a laugh. He clutched his stomach, howling with laughter as he repeated the words. So you're saying your colleagues just happened to have god-tier potential, and cultivators just happened to show up and take them. Tuluwat shifted his gaze back to Huethu. And now, I've appeared at the perfect moment for her. Suddenly, his tone shifted. Tell me, mortal friend, do you even know where you are? Without waiting for an answer, Tuluwat continued. This place is the Ascension Incense Valley, also known as the Ascension Map. It is the intersection that opens the path to the Upper Realm. And in just a few months, a spatial rift known as the Ascension Gate will open right here. It is a once-in-a-millennium event where living beings can ascend to the heavens. That is why countless masters and spiritual beasts have gathered here. So, is it really that strange that cultivators like us keep appearing before you? And Hien nodded, feigning realization. So, that's it. But Vo Huan couldn't help asking. But they said they were recruiting our friends into their sects. If they're ascending to the upper realm, how can they take them into their sects down here? Tuluwat paused, then sighed. Fair enough. You are merely mortals. You cannot comprehend the ways of cultivation. We possess a technique called spirit containment. It allows us to shrink massive objects and store them inside artifacts like this. Those cultivators you met? Oh, they likely have their entire sects stored inside such artifacts. When the Ascension Gate opens, they will take their entire clan with them to the heavens. He paused, then admitted bluntly. In fact, I am doing the same. I have sealed an entire city of the Sea Dragon tribe inside this artifact. Within it, 1,800 of my people lie in slumber. An Hien and Vo had stood with their mouths hanging open in shock. Ignoring them, Tuluwat crouched down, placing a hand gently on Huethu. He pondered for a moment. How peculiar. If I accept her into the Sea Dragon tribe, she might become an entity that shakes the very heavens and earth. Seeing this, Vo Huan rushed forward, screaming, Wait, get away from Assistant No. Instantly, Vo Huan collapsed to the ground with a thud. His body convulsed violently, blood vessels bursting in his eyes from the pressure. Tuluwat cradled Huethu in his arms, his voice stern. I will bind this girl with my own blood in a blood pact, making her one of my kin. This benefits us both. And let me remind you of one thing, Tuluwat glared at the group, his eyes burning with a warning, never question a high-level cultivator casually. Meanwhile, An Hien and Vo Huan were writhing in pain on the ground. Before departing, his voice dropped to a low, menacing growl, emphasizing every single syllable. Consider yourselves lucky. This king is in a good mood, so I deign to answer. Any other cultivator would have crushed you insects into dust just for daring to open your mouths, and as the last word echoed, lightning tore through the sky. Under the cold, driving rain, Tuluwat transformed into a majestic dragon and soared away. Cut to the next morning, a weak, trembling voice broke the silence. They took everyone. Kim Dean looked around, panic rising in her chest. What the hell is going on? It was supposed to be just a landslide. She buried her face in her hands, letting out a manic, broken laugh. Immortals, dragons, they took them. They took every single one of them. Seeing her state, An Hien cautiously patted her shoulder to comfort her. But then she muttered something cryptic. Assistant, you can't just disappear on me like that. If they take you too, I don't have the confidence to survive in this forest alone. Hearing this, his gaze wavered for a split second, but unfortunately, time was already up. Suddenly, Kim Dean started trembling violently, tears streaming down her face. She clutched her head in agony. Something was coming. Vo Huan rushed over in a panic. Hey, what's wrong with you, Manager Kim? Just then, a sharp gust of wind blasted towards the group. Kim Dean's voice quivered uncontrollably. It's here. The newcomer arrived with a shout. What is this mere mortals? How did trash without spiritual roots like you make it to the Ascension map? The old man cackled, amused. Ah, I see. Whenever the Ascension gate opens, the surrounding space destabilizes. It's not unheard of for mortals to get swept in by the spatial storm, so no surprise there. I really am a genius to figure it out so fast. But tell me which one of you mortals set up that earth-shattering formation earlier? His gaze locked onto Kim Dien, lips curling into a smirk. The power was so immense, I thought a saint from the upper realm had descended. Oh, was it this little girl? Vo Huan immediately stepped in front of her to shield her, his voice shaking as he questioned the intruder. Who are you? Manager Kim is our colleague. Suddenly, the old man slammed his staff down, blasting Vo Huan away with the shockwave. And Hien screamed in panic. Deputy manager, watching the two of them skid across the ground, he scrambled up and looked back. Assistant Z. Thank you. Vo Huan grabbed onto him in a panic. Are you okay? You're back. It's injured. And Hien replied weakly. I'm fine. At that moment, the old man gripped Kim Dien's chin. Little girl, I'll take you in. You have no spiritual root, but I can awaken your consciousness, I wonder. What happens if that miraculous formation evolves into a cultivator's divine sense? Hearing this, she darted her eyes to the side in terror. Deputy manager. Assistant Z. The old man scowled, displeased. I already said I'd take you as a disciple. Are you still clinging to these worthless mortal ties? Instantly, and Hien and Vo Huan were levitated high into the air. The old man delivered his cold verdict. If that's the case, I will personally sever your mortal connections. Kim Dien begged desperately. No, please don't. I'll do anything. Just please spare them. The old man shot her a frosty look. Then you must completely forget these worldly attachments. Is that clear? Kim Dien answered immediately. I understand. Satisfied, the old man flicked his hand, and Hien and Vo had plummeted straight to the ground. Suddenly, the old man roared. Even so, if I leave them here, you'll just pine for them again. I'll send them to a nearby mortal kingdom, but they'll be swept up in the spatial turbulence. Their destination will be random. Not even I can predict where these two trash will land. Instantly, Vo Huan was sucked into the void, screaming in terror. What the hell is this? On Hien struggled to reach out. Damn it, I need to grab the herbs first. Watching him disappear, Kim Dien screamed. Wait, An Hien, no. Sometime later, strange, bustling voices began to fill the air. Top-grade Yen Kingdom silk fresh arrivals, classics from the Holy Empire. At the same time, An Hien groggily woke from his coma, bolting upright and scanning his surroundings. Wait, is this where I was in my past life? But An Hien hadn't landed here last time. A passerby looked at him like he was an alien creature. What's this? What kind of insane outfit is he wearing? An Hien pondered silently. Just as that cultivator said, the landing spot was random, but why does this street feel so incredibly familiar? Then it hit him. That's right. This is where I used to live. This is the western capital, the heart of the Yen Kingdom. Crowds bustled back and forth on the busy street. Vo Huan couldn't hold it back anymore. Assistant Z, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. An Hien nodded wearily, feigning ignorance. Me neither. He looked up at the sky and prayed. If only this was all just a bad dream. Vo Huan let out a helpless sigh. Should I be sad that we were left behind like this, or should I be happy that we weren't taken by those monster-like people? An Hien turned to him with a complicated expression. I'm not sure either. Although he had returned to his past life, back then, An Hien was nothing more than a weak, insignificant herb gatherer. With that thought, he steeled his resolve. I can't just rot in this alley forever. Should we head out and check the situation? Mu Hoon suggested quietly. All right. The scene shifts instantly to a strange, bustling capital. Locals stroll happily down the streets, but Mu Hoon narrows his eyes, scanning everything. What are they saying? It sounds like Chinese. And why is everyone staring at us? They're whispering up a storm. An Hien suddenly replies, they're saying our clothes look bizarre. Mu Hoon nearly screams in shock. Wait, you understood that. He turns back with a faint, calm smile. Don't worry, Deputy Manager, I actually know a little Chinese. Mu Hoon feels a pang of unease after all. Eun Hyun's back injury was his fault, but seeing him act so capable now, that's a massive stroke of luck. Meanwhile, Eun Hyun narrows his eyes in thought. The fact that they use Chinese here is just a deceptive facade. Aside from the writing resembling Hanzi, the spoken language isn't Chinese at all. In his past life, he spent 2 whole months being mocked by local beggars just to learn a few basic phrases. This time, that won't happen. After a brief silence, Eun Hyun suggests, so, shall we go buy some clothes? Mu Hoon can't help but ask, but with what money, our currency surely won't work here. A while later, the group stands before a medicine shop. The physician's eyes light up with greed. Heavens, my lord, you're willing to sell this precious treasure to my humble shop? Eun Hyun presses his voice low, emphasizing every word. This is, at the very least, 1,000-year-old yellow pearl ginseng. The old man can't help but exclaim in awe. Oh gods, for this quality, I must pay at least 15 silver ingots to be fair. Hearing this, Eunhyun smirks coldly. 15 solid silver ingots. In his past life, Eunhyun never even touched that kind of money. He clears his throat softly. Bring it here, then. The physician responds excitedly. Yes, right away. High above, the sky burns with a brilliant turquoise blue. Shortly after, the group arrives at a small house. Moo-hoon looks skeptical. Is this really where the two of us are going to live? Eunhyun nods with satisfaction. Yes, starting today, this is home. I'll teach you how to read and write the local script. Moo-hoon smiles stiffly. Thank you so much, assistant. Saying that, Eunhyun turns to a corner, unable to suppress a rising wave of anxiety. Despite his confident words, the money is almost gone. Between bribing officials for residency papers and buying this land, they're down to a single silver ingot. Prices in the capital are absolutely terrifying. Meanwhile, Moo-hoon unconsciously stares at Eunhyun's back. He speaks up carefully. Hey, since we aren't at the company anymore, shouldn't we call each other by name? Eunhyun turns and replies briskly. Sure, whatever you say. Deputy manager. Hearing that, Moo-hoon smiles softly, feeling a sudden surge of gratitude. Thank you. Seo Eunhyun. Night falls, draping the earth in a heavy black shroud. Inside the room, Moo-hoon keeps muttering to himself. We only got that huge sum thanks to the herbs we dug up in the forest. But if the herbs run out, making a living will be tough. I need to think of a way to survive. Right now. He pauses, deep in thought. How do we survive? That's it. What if I use the remaining silver from the medicine sale as capital and try starting a business? On the other side, Eunhyun remains silent, analyzing the situation alone. The starting capital is decent for now. With the skills of a deputy manager from a mid-sized company like Kim Moo-hoon, it's at least enough to scrape by. But that's not enough. Since I've regressed, I have to reach for something higher. Much higher. Suddenly, a thought flashes through Eunhyun's mind. Kim Moo-hoon is a martial arts prodigy. Just by reading cheap manuals sold at street stalls, he became a master of internal energy in just a few months. He gradually grasped supreme techniques, eventually becoming the #1 figure in the entire Yin Kingdom's martial world. Snapping back to reality, Eunhyun observes Moo-hoon with a calculating gaze. Someone like him. What if he learns top-tier kung fu right from the start? He quickly deduces that the birth of the heavenly blade master could be accelerated by 30 years. In Eunhyun, he just needs to catch the crumbs falling from that table to live like a king. Eunhyun speaks slowly. Deputy manager, this is a world where the Murim and martial arts truly exist. He pauses for effect, then analyzes. In this world, if we just do business, sooner or later, martial arts thugs will come to bully us. So, learning some self-defense is essential. Don't you think? Hearing this, Moo-hoon blinks blankly, repeating the words. Martial arts, but techniques aren't easily taught outside of the sects. How could we possibly learn them so easily? Eunhyun narrows his eyes, the corner of his mouth twitching up. Just as expected from the guy famous at the company for being a wuxia addict, he can't hide his excitement. In this western capital, there are 7 famous great sects. The True Demon Sect, Discipline Temple, Moonlight Clan, and Seven Sages Gate are considered the orthodox factions. Meanwhile, the Wolf Pack, Dark Knight Society, and Dragonhead Tribe are listed as unorthodox. The world calls them the 4 stars and 3 demons. The True Demon Sect is actually a sword sect, specializing in both sword and blade techniques. Discipline Temple belongs to the Buddhist lineage. The Moonlight Clan is an intelligence organization, similar to the Hao Clan. And the Seven Sages Gate boasts a long history, teaching a vast variety of different martial arts. Compared to the 4 stars, the 3 demons are lesser known, but they're infamous for their bizarre stealth arts and doing the dirty work no one else will touch. A moment later, Eunhyun asked curiously, Deputy Manager, out of all the sects, which one interests you the most? Kim answered without hesitation. The True Demon Sect. Obviously, a hero needs a sword, sure, but doesn't a heavy blade suit a man better? Hearing this, Eunhyun smiled to himself, just as expected from the man who was the blade god in his past life. Then Kim looked puzzled. But wait, how do you know so much about this stuff? Eunhyun chuckled. I just overheard some martial artists chatting at the office. 3 months later, a voice boomed out. Halt, what business do you have here? Eunhyun explained quickly. This is my big brother. He's admired the True Demon Sect for years and wants to learn martial arts. The gatekeeper glared, staring daggers at Manager Kim. He thought, looks like he has potential, but he refused coldly. Sorry, starting martial arts at his age impossible. Seeing this, Eunhyun quickly slipped him a gold coin. But surely we can speak to someone with authority. We just need a few self-defense techniques. The scene shifts to a massive, opulent manor. The man asked, skeptically, So, you just want to learn martial arts for self-defense? Eunhyun beamed. Exactly, but if we could learn the best self-defense art, that would be amazing. We'd be forever grateful. The man frowned, muttering under his breath, before finally speaking up. I can get him into the Demon Slayer Hall as an outer disciple, but don't expect any special treatment just because you donated. And I'm only accepting one of you. Eunhyun felt a sudden wave of anxiety. 100-year-old imperial ginseng for just that, Kim shouted furiously. No way, that's daylight robbery. Unhyun cut in instantly. Please send our thanks to the Hallmaster, big brother. I'll sign you up as an outer disciple right now. The man added a warning. Go wait at the outer disciple quarters. Inside, Manager Kim hesitated. Unhyun, what's the use if only I learn? If I knew it cost this much, we should have gone somewhere else. Unhyun reassured him gently. It's fine. I've never been good at sports anyway. I'll use the rest of our money to do business and support you. Just focus on your training, Deputy Manager. Manager Kim spoke firmly. If you say so, I'll give it my all. Though I doubt this old body can even master a single move. Unhyun encouraged him. Believe in yourself. I know you can do it. And hearing this, Kim expresses deep gratitude. Thank you. 7 months later, at the Intersect tournament, a man was practically screaming. What the hell is this? How could we lose to some random drifter who came out of nowhere? My elite disciples. The future of the sect. Beaten like this. The entire True Demon sect was shaken to its core. Reaching great achievement in martial arts means understanding the core intent and making it completely your own. Even a third-rate fighter can jump to second-rate if they grasp that intent. But to go higher, you need double, maybe triple that level of insight. And naturally, that takes a massive amount of time and effort. Yet sometimes, monsters appear who mock the laws of training, skyrocketing in power overnight. The True Demon sect is famous for hoarding the greatest geniuses in the West capital. But the one who crushed all their orthodox disciples was an outsider. Deputy Manager Kim? In just 7 months, he mastered the absolute Dragon Blade to perfection, becoming a first-rate master. The Elder raged internally. First rate in half a year. Countless masters suffer their whole lives for a tiny bit of progress and never reach that level. And he's not even a core disciple, he's a nobody. Are we supposed to bow down to an outsider? He roared furiously. Arrest him now. A while later, a group of guards stood orderly outside the manor. Meanwhile, Unhyun observed the situation, thinking, an outer disciple reaching elder-level power in just 7 months. See, this has thrown the True Demon sect into total chaos, and in this unbelievable situation, Deputy Manager Kim was accused of being a spy and placed under house arrest. Unhyun sighed helplessly. He doesn't know a thing about the martial world, yet they call him a spy, and I got dragged in just for doing business. Unhyun turned to Manager Kim curiously. Deputy Manager, aren't you worried? Kim laughed, light as a breeze. Worried they think I'm a spy. In wuxia novels, isn't this the part where they destroy my dantian or cut my meridians? The blade freezes in midair as Muhan speaks slowly. It really is true. I don't know how, but I can see the next wall clearly. If I cross it, I might just reach a higher realm. Hearing this, Unhyun's jaw drops in pure shock. He's a monster. He hasn't been in the first-rate realm for long, yet he already senses the next stage. After first-rate comes the peak realm, the level of sect leaders and elders of the great clans. In the kingdom of Yan, they are known as the Absolute Masters. They are powerhouses so rare that there are barely 1,000 of them in the entire nation. In fact, in the martial arts world, anything beyond the peak realm is considered a lost legend. In other words, the peak realm is the absolute limit that martial arts can touch. Snapping out of his thoughts, Unhyun smiles faintly. You're wrong, brother. With this kind of momentum, the rebirth of the world's #1 blade won't happen 30 years early. It might be more than 40 years ahead of schedule. In the blink of an eye, 7 days pass. Inside an ancient manor, Muhan sits perfectly straight, eyes shut tight. Suddenly, he opens his mouth and exhales a distinct stream of white energy. Witnessing this, Unhyun feels a wave of panic wash over him. Is that Chi manifestation the sign of reaching the peak realm? The 3 flowers gathering at the summit. At that exact moment, Muhan springs up, his voice low and dangerous. I've crossed the wall. Even the leader of the True Demon sect isn't scary anymore. Unhyun can't help but sigh in admiration. This man really possesses talent beyond imagination. Muhan looks down at his sword, a soft smile playing on his lips. Even I'm surprised at myself. Who knew I had this much talent? I've loved wuxia since I was a kid, so maybe it's destiny. Suddenly, the sound of rushing footsteps echoes outside. Kim Muhan and his accomplice listen up. A man glares at him, shouting at the top of his lungs. The traitor Kim Muhan plotted to steal our sect's martial arts, destroy his dantian immediately. By order of the sect leader, sever his limbs and meridians, then bring him to justice. On the other side, Muhan lowers his head slightly. He lets out a weary sigh. Suddenly, Unhyun steps forward to explain. I told you, we aren't spies for anyone, we just... Bam! The man punches Unhyun straight in the face. Shut your mouth. Witnesses saw the two of you, sneaking around, speaking that bizarre language. If that's not a secret code, what is it? Tie them up. Back to Muhan, he draws his sword in a blur of motion. A single swing, clang. The enemy's weapon falls to the ground. A trail of blood sprays across the air, followed by an agonizing scream. Muhan exhales a long breath. Is this really how my first sect ends? Seeing the carnage, the leader screams in rage. What the hell is this? Muhan swings his sword calmly. Slash, slash. Every single attacker is left with a deep, precise wound. Moments later, the mob is screaming in terror. Damn it, he's a peak realm master retreat. Tell the sect leader, hurry. Right then, Muhan turns with a casual suggestion. Hey Eunhyun, I plan to roam the sects to keep training. What about you? Eunhyun answers, without hesitation. I'm coming with you. How about we try the Dragonhead sect? It's one of the famous orthodox factions. Oh, Muhan can't hold back a laugh. Sounds good. You go ahead. I'll meet you in front of the Dragonhead sect's gate. I need to shake off these true demon sect guys first. The scene shifts to a majestic mountain range. From a high vantage point, Muhan looks down. Eunhyun, what took you so long? Eunhyun chuckles. It's just that you're too fast. His eyes drift to the blade still dripping with fresh blood. He thinks to himself. Just a while ago, he was merely Deputy Manager Kim. He used to get criticized for being too aggressive just for hitting someone. Sure, it's for survival. But this world really changes people. Thinking this, Eunhyun silently prays. If only we could go back, not to this dog-eat-dog world, but to a normal life on Earth. Eunhyun feels a surge of resentment. If you gave me a chance to regress, why not send me back to when I was on Earth? But it's too late now. As long as we're alive, there's hope, right? After being betrayed by the true demon sect, Deputy Manager Kim completely took over the Dragonhead sect. For the next 2 years, he traveled across the Yan Kingdom, challenging every major sect. By the 3rd year, he had smashed the signboards of every major faction. From then on, the title #1 under heaven belonged to him. With that fame, Deputy Manager Kim united the martial arts world and established the Martial Alliance. 7 years later, Eunhyun and Muhan are now sworn brothers, treating each other as equals. Muhan even created a martial art specifically tailored for him. Muhan hands over a book. This is the Mountain Severing Sword Art. This sword style carries the intent to slice through massive mountains. That's why I named it that. If you train this to perfection, entering the peak realm won't be difficult for you. The moment he sees the book, Eunhyun's eyes widen in shock. It includes the Dragon Vein Qigong and internal technique created alongside the sword art. This is a true first-rate martial art. It's leagues above that third-rate trash sold on the streets. But then, something is wrong. A moment later, Eunhyun's body suddenly collapses to the ground. Wushun bowed his head, lost in thought. Hey, Yin Xian, you really can't help but whine. Can you? Oh God. Yin Xian scratched his head in frustration, muttering, I have absolutely zero talent. My potential is tragically non-existent. You, the #1 under heaven, personally created a technique and taught me every single move. Yet, after a whole year of training, I barely scraped the bottom of the third-rate realm. A moment later, Yin Xian stressed every word, resigning himself to fate. Well, nothing to be done about it. At least my medical skills are decent. Huh, Wushun interjected. Everyone has their own unique gift. Besides, 10 years flew by just like that. Then came that day. Yin Xian witnessed it with his own eyes. Wushun sat motionless, his white hair dancing in the wind, a legendary sight known as the 5 Qi toward the origin. At that precise moment, Wushun's eyes suddenly lit up, his fingers twisted and contorted strangely. Immediately after, Wushun tore off his upper robes and let out a roar of ecstasy. A massive shockwave blasted straight into Yin Xian. Eyes wide, he stared ahead. Brother Wushun, is that... Wushun turned back, a bright smile on his face. Yin Xian. He looked up at his friend. Why so surprised this is rebirth and shedding the body? Yin Xian smiled softly, eyes filled with admiration. Big brother, you look even younger than me now. Hearing this, Wushun laughed heartily. Is that so? I feel life force surging through me. It's as if there is nothing I cannot do. Yin Xian didn't forget to add, if the world finds out you've achieved rebirth, it will cause an absolute earthquake. He nodded in agreement. True. Wushun stood up, his voice dropping low. Incidentally, it is time to hand over the position of alliance leader to the younger generation. Yin Xian asked quickly, his voice light as the breeze. You haven't found a suitable successor yet, have you? Wushun looked disappointed. The alliance leader requires a certain level of cultivation. Sadly, none of these brats understand the true meaning of martial arts, like... Yin Xian chuckled. That's just because you've reached a transcendent realm. Where in this world can you find another genius like you? Wushun gazed outside, speaking slowly. Perhaps, but regardless, a lack of talent is still a lack of talent. In the blink of an eye, 15 years passed. In an ancient manner, Yin Xian had been back at the Ascension Incense Pavilion for 35 years. Now over 60, he couldn't help but wonder where was brother Wushun, and what was he doing? 1 year after his rebirth, he resigned as alliance leader and went into seclusion. Yin Xian had wanted to retire with him, but to stabilize the chaos within the alliance, he was forced to stay on as the strategist for a long time. Memories drifted into his mind. His brother had said he wanted to travel across the Yan Kingdom. Perhaps that was why he didn't even show up for Yin Xian's retirement ceremony. After a long while, he took heavy steps forward. Yin Xian looked into the distance and sighed, so desolate. He thought bitterly this manor cost his life savings, but living alone in such a vast place was just a hassle. Suddenly, a noise caught Yin Xian's attention. He shouted warily, "Who is it?" From the shadows, Wu Sun bowed his head, a groan escaping his lips. Yin Xian approached in panic. "Big brother." He couldn't hold back his question. "How did you end up like this?" "You missed my retirement ceremony." "Where have you been?" Suddenly, Wu Sun collapsed backward. Yin Xian asked frantically, "What happened?" "Big brother." Wu Sun called his name like a slow knife cutting through air, his voice thick with emotion. "I used to think I truly had a God-given gift for martial arts." Yin Xian agreed immediately. "That's true if you aren't a genius. Then who is?" Wu Sun muttered in his throat. "Right. I am clearly a martial arts prodigy. Perhaps in the entire Yan kingdom, no. Among all mortals, no one matches my talent." Yin Xian turned and laughed. "Mortal? How could you be a mere mortal? Under these heavens, who doesn't know you are the number one in the world?" Wu Sun's voice turned cold, recalling a painful memory. "Do you remember the cultivators I fought? 35 years ago, those strange, flying creatures kidnapped our colleagues." Hearing this, Yin Xian's eyes immediately trembled. The cultivators, they operate silently throughout the Yan Imperial Palace, manipulating this entire nation, and after the Martial Arts Alliance was founded and your influence grew, they started interfering directly with us. Brother Wu Sun hated that, but fighting them meant fighting the entire nation to protect the Alliance. We were forced to obey. That was why he resigned as Alliance leader to travel across Yan Kingdom and confront them as an individual. Back in the present, Wu Sun let out a bitter complaint. Those cultivators are incredibly hard to find, and even when you do, they look down on mortals. They say we aren't worth fighting, then use illusions or flight techniques to leave. I rarely get a chance to strike. But 5 years ago, I was lucky enough to fight one. Yin Xian asked hurriedly, excitement in his voice. "Did you win?" Wu Sun replied sharply. "I won." Yin Xian's gaze softened, and he let out a sigh of relief. "If you had done that while still in office, I would have strangled you myself." Wu Sun's voice suddenly shifted. "I fought with my life on the line against a cultivator who had only reached the foundation establishment stage. Yet I barely managed to scratch his fingertip." The earth-shattering news sent shivers through Xian's entire body. He recounted the bizarre conditions of the duel, his voice laced with irony and helplessness. He said, "If you can simply touch me, I'll count it as your win. So, I suppose I won." Foundation establishment. Xian repeated the name in total confusion. "Is he one of the 10 great masters of the cultivation world?" "No," Wu Sun replied with absolute certainty. "He said his realm is only second from the bottom. In martial arts terms, he'd be nothing more than a second-rate fighter." Xian's face twisted in utter disbelief. He couldn't believe his ears. Whether in his past life or this one, he knew cultivators were terrifyingly powerful. But Brother Wu Sun's martial arts had clearly reached god-tier levels. He could walk on air, unleash techniques from the literal sky, and slice through 10,000-year-old steel like it was tofu. The thought struck him hard. Long Xian couldn't help but doubt. How could a peerless martial genius like him only leave a scratch on some low-ranking cultivator? At that moment, Wu Sun lowered his head, muttering unconsciously, "I truly was a frog in the well. We cannot fight cultivators. They are like natural disasters." And Xian couldn't take his eyes off Wu Sun. He frowned slightly as his brother suddenly lowered his voice, the tone heavy with gravity. "However, today, in that very moment," Wu Sun pulled out a severed hand, adding calmly, "I cut off his wrist." Xian stammered in shock. "So your martial arts surpassed him?" Wu Sun cut him off instantly. "No." He immediately slapped on a talisman and grew a brand new hand. "Perhaps my martial path ends here?" Xian asked quickly. "Brother, what do you mean by that?" Wu Sun suddenly announced, "I came today to say goodbye. He appreciated my willpower, so he allowed me to join his cultivation sect. I'll likely have to start as a lowly servant boy." And Xian stared at Wu Sun with wide eyes, his lips trembling but making no sound. "Big brother, becoming an immortal requires spiritual roots. If you don't have them, how can you achieve anything?" Wu Sun fell silent for a moment before explaining. He said if a mortal breaks through the 5 chi toward the origin realm, they can awaken the 5-element spiritual roots, equivalent to a cultivator's innate talent, the talent they are born with. Mortals like us must cultivate bitterly for an entire lifetime just for a chance to grasp it. Suddenly, the sword in Wu Sun's hand radiated a mysterious black aura. He stepped forward decisively. "I must go. I must pursue a higher realm." Wu Sun turned, handing over an object. "This book is my final gift to you. Take care of yourself." Immediately, a mist wrapped around him, pulling him into nothingness. Xian screamed, "Big brother!" He turned back, gripping the book titled Records of Martial Transcendence in his hands. It documented how to deepen martial arts to break the limits of cultivators. And Xian looked toward the horizon, his voice choked with tears. "Big brother, how could you bear to leave your little brother behind?" Time passed relentlessly, and a blizzard began to descend. Now lying on his deathbed, Xian whispered softly, "How ironic, 50 years in this world. And in the end, I die of a cold just like in my past life. Destiny. No matter how much humans struggle, we cannot escape fate." The bed and the house may be different, but I still die on the exact same day. To avoid the regrets of his previous life, he had lived this one to the fullest. He never even thought of marriage. He unified the martial arts world of the Yan Kingdom, enjoying all the wealth and fame the human world had to offer. Yet, a question surfaced in Yin Xian's mind. Then what is this lingering regret? If I had tried harder, could Brother Wu Xun and I have touched the heavenly Tao together? Yin Xian gritted his teeth. This nameless helplessness, it makes me tremble. I have so many regrets. And that was the moment of his second regression. The second regression, Yin Xian's eyes snapped open. He froze in the middle of a path bathed in blue light. It was that same forest, the ascension path. Yin Xian looked down, feeling a surge of fresh energy flowing through every vein. His body was overflowing with vitality. It turned out regression didn't just happen once. Suddenly, Mingxun rushed over, his voice cracking. Hey, assistant manager, you son of a bitch. As Mingxun lunged, Yin Xian quickly sidestepped. The man roared in fury. You dare dodge me! In that instant, confusion washed over him. Why did Yin Xian regress again? A youthful body full of life. Clearly, this should be cause for celebration. But thinking of that, Yin Xian's heart stung. What about everything he had built over the last 50 years? At the same time, Mingxun stepped forward, shouting, Hey bastard, are you going to pretend nothing happened? Yin Xian dropped his hands and took a step back, his gaze drifting deep into the forest. Regression. Is this truly a blessing? No. This is a curse. A curse that steals away the meaning of life. Yin Xian couldn't help but feel a rising panic. 1 or 2 regressions might be a gift from the heavens. But what if this continues endlessly? He would be trapped forever in a vortex of destiny, forced to walk a path of suffering until the end of his life. Worse, Yin Xian could never again meet the people he knew in his previous life. The people standing before Yin Xian now were nothing more than shadows resembling those of the past. Mu Hun, the man he had once considered a brother, tried desperately to talk him down. Section Chief Toan, that is enough. Yin Hyun's heart stung with betrayal. The soft-hearted man from before no longer existed. After a long silence, he gritted his teeth, forcing a deadly calm. You need to calm down, Section Chief. What good does getting angry do here? Toan snapped, spewing curses in a blind rage. What did you say, you shameless bastard? Yin Hyun fired back, his voice dripping with venom. You were the one who was supposed to take the wheel. I warned you today, but you forced me to drive anyway. I haven't slept in 24 hours because I was finishing the pile of paperwork you dumped on me. How the hell was I supposed to dodge an avalanche on a narrow mountain pass? Stop pointing fingers and start using your brain to figure out how we survive this. Under the barrage of truth, the section chief's body trembled violently. Yin Hyun paused, then turned his gaze to the side. Mu Hun. Actually, Director Kim, I'm going to find a shelter before the sun goes down. Yin Hyun swept his cold gaze over the group. The rest of you, look for the vehicle or a way out of these woods. He lowered his head, his voice grim. When night falls, I will build a fire. Just head towards the light. As darkness settled, Yin Hyun couldn't help but wonder. What was the point of forging bonds with these people in the end? He was always left standing alone. The campfire crackled in the dead of night. While the group sprawled out on the freezing ground, Yin Hyun watched over them, his eyes heavy with burden. A chilling fear gripped him that this cycle would never end. Infinite regression. This cursed ability had to be erased. Yin Hyun's mind raced with questions. If he somehow managed to return to Earth, would the power finally vanish? And why? Why did he always regress to this exact moment on the path of ascension? He let out a soft sigh, pondering the possibility, perhaps, just perhaps, he could actually go home. A memory surfaced in Old Man screaming in madness. When the ascension gate opens, the fabric of space becomes chaotic. Even ordinary mortals can be swept away into the spatial storms. Yin Hyun shot up from the ground, his eyes locking onto the horizon. That was it. The ascension gate. It had to be the key to everything. Maybe, just maybe, he could use it to return to his own world. Yin Hyun clenched his fists, steeling his resolve. First, he had to become stronger. As a frail mortal, he was utterly powerless. He took a step forward, his footing firm. He had to become a cultivator, just like Mu Hun, and walk the path of cultivation. Once he extended his lifespan through cultivation, he could study the ascension gate until he cracked its secrets. He looked up at the sky, his knuckles white from clenching his fists. I will become a cultivator, and I will reach the ascension gate. The scene shifts to the following morning, sunlight flooding the heavens. Right then, Yin Hyun shoved something into his mouth, soil and all. He had ripped a wild ginseng root straight from the earth. As he chewed, a powerful surge of chi began to vibrate within his dantian. In his past life, he knew nothing of cultivation techniques. Back then, devouring a golden bamboo root would have been a waste. But now, if he utilized the Dragon True Origin method Mu Hun had left behind, he could blast through his block meridians. Suddenly, Yin Hyun's chest began to pound violently. He gasped for air, realizing the harsh truth. It wasn't easy to repair a body filled with toxins from years of fast food and corporate stress. The scene shifts to a lush green mountain. The ground is littered with dozens of wood chips. Eun-hyun was grinding a wooden branch against a stone. He inspected the makeshift spear in his hand, and the corner of his mouth quirked up. This will do. He swung the stick through the air with serious intent. In his past life, he was merely a second-rate martial artist. He had stopped training near his death, letting his skills rust away. His eyes locked onto a tree trunk opposite him. In a flash, he swung the stick, unleashing the mountain-splitting slash. Eun-hyun thought to himself, with all the cultivation methods stored in my memory, regaining my strength is only a matter of time. Suddenly, Moo-hun rushed over, shouting in shock. Deputy Chief, what? What just happened? Did you just fell that ancient tree with a wooden stick? What kind of monster strength do you have? Eun-hyun patted the fallen trunk. Oh, this... He looked at Moo-hun, thinking, this is the man I will guide down the path of cultivation. He turned and asked casually, do you want to try learning this move? Director Kim Moo-hun laughed awkwardly. Me? Could I really, Roar. A deafening screech cut him off. A three-tailed fox appeared, its maw wide open, emitting a piercing shriek. Filthy humans. The beast glared daggers at Eun-hyun. You dare frolic and joke around. Right in front of the true master of this forest, Eun-hyun furrowed his brow. I forgot about him. The dense foliage was ripped apart, drenched in fresh blood. A gruesome sound echoed through the silence, the sickening crunch of fangs grinding against bone. Eun-hyun's face went pale. He clenched his jaw so hard his teeth nearly cracked. All he could do now was mentally suppress his nervous system to shut out the excruciating pain. As the fox's fangs tore into his arm, a thought steeped in despair surfaced in his mind. I was weak in my first life, and I'm still too weak in my second. Moments later, terrified screams erupted from the group behind him. Deputy Chief, what the hell are you doing? Moo-hyun screamed. Seo Eun-hyun steps closer to the three-tailed fox. In this third regression, a voice echoes from the past. Do you want to know what happened in my second life? Back then, Eun-hyun swore he'd master the 5 energies converging and become a true cultivator. But even after bowing to a century-old master, he barely scraped by as a first-rate warrior. Compared to the geniuses of this world, Eun-hyun was trash. Desperate, he crushed his own arm, hot blood spraying out as pain tore through his sanity. Seeing the horror, Woo-hoon screamed, Vice Director, it doesn't matter if it takes 1,000 years or 10 lifetimes. Eun-hyun grit his teeth. I will never give up. He stared coldly at the three-tailed fox, ambition burning in his gaze. With a chilling laugh, he offered himself up as a living sacrifice. Why don't we have a little taste? The beast sneered. Eun-hyun didn't flinch. I'll feed you my arm whenever you want. Until the day I possess power greater than yours. The fox gorged on his flesh and left the group alone. Ignoring his terrified colleagues, Eun-hyun stood alone in the forest, swinging his sword with his remaining arm. The only interruptions came when cultivators arrived healing Eun-hyun just to kidnap his colleagues one by one. Through the endless night, Eun-hyun kept swinging. No food, no sleep. He didn't stop until the 4th day. Then, he dared to speak. A lowly mortal dares to question the Dragon King of the Sea. Seo Ryo looked down at him, amused. You have something to ask. Eun-hyun answered quickly. I suspect you want Vice Manager Oh Hye-seo, but she's a mortal with no spirit root, destined to die in 100 years. What could you possibly want from her? Seo Ryo let out a dry, rattling laugh. You know a bit about cultivators, but don't worry. Once she drinks my blood, she'll awaken a spirit root matching her potential. Eun-hyun looked up, eyes blazing with defiance. If that's true, can you grant us that chance too? We come from the same homeland. Perhaps we hold the same power that interests you. The entity went silent, then spoke, his voice deep like crashing waves. Listen well. Seo Ryo's words were heavy, crushing down like lead. I'm warning you for your own good. Do not make demands of a great cultivator. We have lived for tens of thousands of years. We have witnessed truths you cannot even imagine. I am patient, so I will let this slide. But other cultivators, they would crush you like a bug just for looking at them. Thunder boomed as he finished, signaling a coming storm. Seo Ryo took Hye-seo and vanished. Woo-hoon looked up, trembling. What the hell is going on? The scene shifts to the next morning, the sun blindingly bright. Eun-hyun falls to his knees. Great cultivator, our colleague, Manager Kim Yeon. She's a mortal with no spirit root too. Why make her your disciple? Yeah. A shrill laugh pierced the air. The old man turned to him. This is a priceless spirit pill. It opens the spiritual senses. Even a mortal who swallows this gains a chance to walk the path of cultivation. Eun-hyun froze. There was another way, a shortcut. The old man grabbed Kim Yeon's chin, grumbling. Sure, mortals can train in martial arts to open the 5 elements. But that path is too long and leads to mediocrity. This is best. He waved his hand dismissively. I'm done with you lot. Scram. As he dragged her away, she screamed in terror. Wait, Eun-hyun, don't. Suddenly, Eun-hyun gasps, waking from the nightmare. He finds himself hanging from a tree branch, staring down in confusion. It's really him. He looks toward the southern Yan kingdom. This timeline feels just like his second life. Wandering the Murim with Woo-hoon. After roaming for nearly 100 years back then, Eunhyun knows every corner of this land by heart. He shouts for the director to wake up as sunlight pierces through the dense canopy. Eunhyun wakes Director Kim, leads him to the nearest city, and explains everything. Woohoon is confused, but reality sinks in. They reach Hubei City, sell gathered herbs, and buy a small shack. He teaches Woohoon the language and the severing mountain blade, a technique Woohoon created in the second life by modifying the mountain breaking slash to fit his weapon. Sometime later, Eunhyun lowers his head. Exhaustion washes over him. It all feels so pointless. He looks at Woohoon. The man reached the Three Flowers realm in just 3 months of learning martial arts. Eunhyun clenches his jaw, bitter. It took him 2 entire lifetimes of desperate training just to barely reach first rate. Suddenly, Woohoon jumps up, his voice sharp and confident. I think I can beat you now, Manager CO. Eunhyun's lips curl into a smirk. He realizes something clearly. This man is not the Woohoon who was like a blood brother to him in his past life. Mentally, he is light years younger than Eunhyun. In terms of mental age, Eunhyun is old enough to be Director Kim's grandfather. This thought leads Eunhyun to a single conclusion. I don't think I should travel with him in this life. He slides a book over and makes his proposal. Director, from now on, we should go our separate ways. Woohoon practically screams. What? He stammers, eyes wide. Say that again. Deputy Manager Eunhyun, what did I do wrong? Give me a reason. Eunhyun stays silent, brows furrowing tight. The reason in the first regression, Woohoon became the Murim Alliance leader. But after suffering defeat against the cultivators, he drowned in despair. The second regression was no different. Nothing changed. Woohoon created transcendent martial arts and sword techniques, refining the ultimate cultivation manuals and combat styles. I was clashing with cultivators, yet he was still crushed by those stronger than him. In the end, he abandoned martial arts and vanished to become a cultivator himself. This life will end the same way, and Eunhyun refuses to watch Woohoon's face crumble into hopelessness ever again. After a beat of silence, he gives a firm answer. I want to roam the world and train myself. Woohoon looks panic-stricken. But how am I supposed to survive without you? Eunhyun's voice drops low. Your martial arts are enough to survive on your own. I've taught you how to speak, write, and fight. You're already a supreme warrior. You have nothing to fear. Woohoon's voice chokes up. But I don't want to be separated from my only friend again. The silence stretches, heavy between them. Then Eunhyun offers a faint smile. If that's the case, promise me we'll meet again on this exact date. Right here in this house, once every 2 years. Woohoon hesitates, then nods. After finally convincing Director Kim, the morning sky looks strangely clear. A man shouts angrily, blocking the way. Halt. What business brings you to the 8 Mirrors Hall? Eunhyun bows respectfully. I have come to request a duel. The man bursts into a chuckle. You think just anyone can barge in here? But before he finishes, Eunhyun swings his sword without a word. He will become stronger. The man's robe is sliced open. Eunhyun slowly sheathes his blade and turns his gaze to the stunned guard. Do I still look like a nobody to you? He's determined to do whatever it takes. Deep in a lush green valley hidden at the mountain's foot, a massive palace towers toward the sky. At the gate, a woman bows her head. She offers a polite smile. Please, come inside. The sect leader's expecting you. Eunhyun follows her lead. Moments later, they arrive at a training ground where a grandmaster stands waiting. Beside him stand 2 young men, radiating an imposing aura. The alliance leader exclaims with excitement, I heard a first-class master was arriving. Turns out it's just a brat. Eunhyun bows formally, his voice steady. I am Seo Eunhyun. Greetings, alliance leader of the 8 Trigrams Pavilion. The old man chuckles softly. For one so young, your spirit is far from ordinary. He looks up, returning the compliment, and your presence, sir, is truly extraordinary. Sect leader, I ask that you teach this junior a lesson. Suddenly, the alliance leader produces a spear. He spins the weapon with force, circling his opponent. Very well. Eunhyun, then allow me to strike first. Without another word, he launches himself at the boy, no warning, just pure speed. Dust kicks up from the courtyard. The steel shaft whips through the air. Just as it's about to smash into his skull, Eunhyun spins, unsheathing his sword in a horizontal slash. Clang, the blade flashes, reflecting the sunlight. Witnessing the collision, the onlookers drop their jaws in shock. Did he just block the sect leader's fatal strike with a sword? The alliance leader's deep voice booms through the sound of the whirling weapon. Looking at your reaction speed, it seems you've reached the realm of man and sword as one. That makes you a peak first-class master at the very least. Eunhyun chuckles softly, his voice calm. It seems you've been hiding your true skill, sect leader. Thanks to that, my eyes have been opened to something truly rare. The old man's laughter echoes across the training grounds. I never expected someone of your age to reach a realm nearly equal to mine. You really are a genius. Black hair falls over Eunhyun's eyes as the corner of his mouth quirks up. Genius. For Eunhyun. That word isn't a compliment. This level of power is something that usually takes decades of grueling training to achieve. So naturally, it seems impossible for someone who looks barely 20 to possess it. Eunhyun tightens his grip on the hilt, flashing a sharp smile. Thank you for praising this humble one's meager talent. But internally, Eunhyun knows the truth. He is just one of countless mediocre people in this world. The heavens gave him zero talent, but even for a nobody like him, thanks to regression, he has grasped martial arts well enough to stand toe-to-toe with true geniuses. Regression is his power, his one opportunity, and because of it, Eun-hyun has become a genius. The air suddenly snaps tight like a bowstring, unflinching. He points his blade straight at the Alliance leader. I am about to unleash my sword chi. The old man spins his weapon. In that case, I will use my full power. Eun-hyun charges, his sword chi swirling into a streak of light like a lightning strike. That was the first form of the mountain-breaking sword art, Peak Piercer. But the Alliance leader wasn't backing down. He instantly lunged at the boy with terrifying speed. Seeing this, Eun-hyun nimbly sidestepped to dodge. At that very moment, the Alliance leader's eyes flared with an ominous blue light of authority. He gritted his teeth, panic starting to creep into his heart. What the hell is this? What kind of berserk sword art is this? There are no openings. The Alliance leader let out a low growl, channeling every last drop of his internal energy to charge like a tiger. But suddenly Eun-hyun unleashed the mountain-breaking sword's seventh form. In a flash, the blade grazed across the Alliance leader's face. The disciples watching from afar screamed, their eyes wide with pure terror. But he wasn't done yet. The boy brought his blade down for another devastating strike. A young disciple gasped, mumbling, "It's not just the speed. The destructive power is insane." Back in the fight, Eun-hyun put his full weight into a slash straight at the Alliance leader, who braced himself, gripping his iron staff so hard his teeth nearly shattered. Eun-hyun narrowed his eyes at the old man. Looks like I have to end this right here. With that thought, he launched himself into the air. Eun-hyun delivered a decisive downward slash, crack. The iron staff in the Alliance leader's hands was shattered into pieces. The crowd was left stunned, paralyzed by this unprecedented spectacle. Moments later, the Alliance leader clutched his wrist, gasping for air. I've lost. Seeing this, Eun-hyun bowed respectfully. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Looking down from above, the entire arena was covered in a spiderweb of cracks. The scene shifts to a classic, majestic manner. Inside, a group of women moved with graceful elegance. Eun-hyun walked slowly, thinking to himself, that was too clean. Eun-hyun turned to look behind him. Even in his past life, the Eight Quakes sect was famous for being a righteous faction that never made a move. Next time, I'll visit the other sects, too. Through this martial arts journey in this life, I will definitely reach the peak. Suddenly, the image of a mountain range appeared before his eyes. Eun-hyun had already visited 4 mid-tier sects in the West Capital. He lost at the Flowing Water Pavilion, the Library Archive, and the Shadowlight Gate. But he claimed victory against the Beggar sect leader, the Willow Palace, and a few others. We see Eun-hyun deliver a single, decisive slash straight toward his opponent. The man was sent flying backward, gasping for breath, his eyes rolling back after taking that critical hit. Seeing this, the old man chuckled darkly. So, the young first-class expert challenging sects all over the West Capital turns out to be you. Your kung fu isn't bad at all. Eun-hyun immediately bowed. This humble one has learned much during these challenges. Hearing this, the old man sneered. Good. Next up are the 10 great elders. Are you ready? He was momentarily stunned. What is this how the unorthodox faction operates? Eun-hyun quickly asked. Didn't we just finish? And didn't I win? I've never heard of a sword duel where one must fight 10 people in a row. The opponent brazenly replied, How absurd. Then he added, Did you not hear me clearly just now? Eun-hyun frowned slightly. What kind of nonsense is this bastard spouting? He retorted without holding back. If I let word of this shameful defeat spread to other sects today, your reputation as a fair and just sect will become meaningless. The old man cackled. No need to worry about that. You were injured during the match here. Sad to say, the wounds led to your death. Normally, our sect would generously care for someone like you, but, he said coldly, since you'll be dead, who's going to gossip to anyone else? Oh. Eun-hyun's face remained calm, but his eyes sank into a deep, abyss-like darkness. These guys are absolute lunatics. The man from the Void Hall gang suddenly asked Eun-hyun, If I kill you here, it won't affect our reputation, right? Hearing that, the corner of his lips suddenly curled up. Eun-hyun thought, Exactly. That's the very reason I came here. Eun-hyun raised his sword in front of his face and declared arrogantly, Come at me. I accept this stupid death match. Then from now on, the real battle begins. The scene shifts to another location. The lights were just being lit in the town below. At a bustling tavern on the street corner, a drunkard spoke to the crowd. That young master? I heard he went to challenge the Void Hall gang, right? What a waste of a young talent. The man next to him chimed in. Right. Challenging an outlaw organization like the unorthodox faction, meh. Another voice spoke up. That's just how life is. When people are young, they think they can change the whole world. It's a kind of foolish innocence. Someone at the next table suddenly spoke up, relying only on strength and acting rashly. He brought this disaster upon himself. I guess so. The Void Hall gang might pretend to be righteous on the outside, but inside, they're no different from mountain bandits. By now, His corpse is probably already buried. Just as the man finished speaking, Eun Hyun pushed the door open and walked into the tavern. The waiter hurried over to greet him, but flinched at his appearance. The boy was covered in countless wounds. Eun Hyun spoke calmly. "Get me a bowl of noodles." Everyone in the tavern turned to stare at him. The waiter stammered, "Yes, right away. Please, sit." Eun Hyun walked past the people who had just been whispering, causing them to immediately lower their heads in shame. Rewind to a few minutes ago. As he finished dealing with that mob, he thought, "Those lunatics? I nearly died. It wasn't just a 1 versus 10 fight. Those scumbags even poisoned their weapons." Thank God he mastered supreme medical arts back when he was a strategist for the Miriam Alliance. If he hadn't downed the antidote and stimulants prepared beforehand, Yin Xian would be dead meat. And then, with that crazy old man's final desperate strike, he screamed in order to kill that bastard at all costs. He thought back. The entire evil sect swarmed him, spears in hand, arrows on their backs, forming a formation to charge. Yin Xian had no choice but to fight like a wild beast just to survive. Yet, the last one standing was him. He severed the meridians of those still breathing, crippling them so they couldn't even dream of revenge. Yin Xian finished his steaming bowl of noodles, set down his chopsticks, and continued his train of thought. Maybe it's because he downed too many stimulants, but the tension hasn't faded. Sleep is out of the question for the next few days. He needs to go challenge another Orthodox sect right now. Fresh off a brutal battle with the Void Hall gang, Yin Xian downed a bowl of noodles and immediately set off for the next duel. He became the hot topic all over Chang'an. The people gave this madman a nickname that fit him perfectly. The infinite battle demon, Yin Xian. Swinging his sword, Yin Xian thought to himself he has no talent. The road to the peak is still miles away. He must fight endlessly, skirting the line between life and death, just to inch closer to that realm. A man without talent must go insane to break through the wall. If you lack talent, you must have madness. That is the only way for the mediocre to catch up to a genius. And so, Yin Xian swept through Chang'an and the Yan Kingdom, dueling multiple times a day, Orthodox or evil sect. It didn't matter. 5 years later, he was still in town, grinding his sword skills. Yin Xian unleashed mountain-splitting sword art, 14th form mind flows. Chi anchors the mountain, imposing as a mountain, intent like the 9 heavens, fighting and thinking at the same time. A move that can only be used when reaching the absolute peak. Just using it for a split second puts immense pressure on the mind. But if he doesn't, he'll never catch up. His opponent is before Yin Xian could finish the thought, Wu Sun slashed down. He frantically turned to block the descending blade. Yin Xian couldn't hold on. His sword was knocked back, and he was flung into the wall, creating a massive shockwave. Body aching all over, Yin Xian realized just one move, and his entire sword chi was shattered. Wu Sun walked over and said, "Your reputation isn't fake. I had high hopes. But you're still quite clumsy." The young master versus the infinite battle demon. In the Jianghu, he is known as peerless under heaven. He beamed. "I won." Yin Xian stood up wearily, thinking, truly a crazy talent, and said aloud, "Congratulations. You're much stronger than last year." He gripped his sword tight, blaming himself internally. In just 5 years, he's completely transformed. What the hell did Wu Sun do during those years? While his own realm is still just expert level, talent, it really lets you down. A moment later, Yin Xian asked, "By the way, why are you here?" Ryuo replied immediately, "Didn't we agree to meet every 2 years? When I traveled to Five Flags, Zuman City, and visited the great sects of the Yan Kingdom, I realized something. There is no one left in Yan who is stronger than me. Now, no one can withstand even a single move of mine. I plan to establish a sect or organization called Peerless Under Heaven, and I want to give you a position." Yin Xian cut him off. "No thanks. I'm happy with my life as it is." He thought, looks like he's got Martial Emperor syndrome. If I agree, then in this life too. I'll definitely end up as a strategist or vice leader, working like a dog. With my talent, every second is precious if I want to reach the peak. Wu Sun said that once the sect is founded, meeting might be hard, so he started tempting Yin Xian with offers of guidance during their duels. Yin Xian stared at Wu Sun. "No matter how good the offer is, I'm not going." Internally, he thought, "I already received countless guidance duels in my past life. What Yin Xian needs now is real combat experience." Even Elder Wu Sun from the past life told him to reach the late stage. You must survive countless real battles. So in this life, Yin Xian decided to silently watch Wu Sun from afar and continue his own endless journey of duels. And then, another 20 years passed. Wu Sun came to find Yin Xian again. He looked him up and down. "You look so pale." Finally, Yin Xian realized his talent was something the heavens had thrown in the trash. Yin Xian looked at the sword in his hand. "I've trained endlessly without rest." Wu Sun asked, "You still haven't broken through?" His hand trembling, he continued, "My cultivation of sword chi has surpassed the Miriam Alliance, yet I still can't last 3 moves against a supreme expert." He stared at Yin Xian's sword. "Strange. You've become one with the sword much more than before. Yet you still haven't reached the ultimate realm. With your combat experience, it should have been enough." He sighed, lamenting inwardly. "Yes, this is Yin Xian's talent. a talent abandoned by the Tao of Heaven. Suddenly, blood poured from his nose. Then An Hien finally spoke up. It's already been half a day. I'm at my limit, but if I can maintain this sword aura all day without collapsing, maybe, just maybe, I'll glimpse the path of the sword. Vo Huan tossed him a book and said, I really hope you can pull this off. Here, take it. These are the insights I gained after clashing with those cultivators. I focused on stalling, dragging the fight out as long as possible just to survive their spells. That's the only reason I managed to escape it. An Hien was mentally stunned. The book was almost as thick as the original martial arts record, breaking through the mortal dust, an improved version of the martial arts commentary. He suddenly asked, You realized all this just by running for your life? Vo Huan replied coldly. Cultivators are natural disasters in human form. Surviving a calamity naturally brings infinite enlightenment. And Hien nodded slowly. Got it. I'll guard this with my life and pass it down to future generations. Thank you, Vo Huan. Before leaving, the man turned back to say goodbye. I'm heading back into their territory. Hope when we meet again, we're both still alive. He paused. Oh, right. To reach the ultimate state, I have a clue for you. Everything you see, every space you pass through, you must etch it into your mind. And Hien's eyes went wide with shock. The entire scenery, everything around me, Vo Huan continued, to use the terrain in battle. You already try to memorize your surroundings during a fight, don't you? Make that constant. Do it every single day, not just when you're fighting. And Hien stammered, How the hell is anyone supposed to do that? An Hien thought to himself, maintaining sword aura continuously already feels like my skull is splitting. Now I have to keep my spatial awareness active 24/7. If I keep this up, I'll say my head might literally explode. And no, there has to be a reason. The strongest martial artist under the heavens created this training for me. And so, from that day on, he tried to carve every space he saw into his brain. And Hien began memorizing the position of absolutely everything. The scene shifted, and Hien was running, stumbling with dizziness. Every footstep around him pounded in his head like a hammer. He fled the town into the forest, clenching his fists. It had been exactly 5 years since he started maintaining both sword aura and spatial awareness simultaneously. The vertigo was constant, processing every inch of space in his vision. This wasn't a task meant for mortals. And now, it wasn't just vision, he was starting to see sound too. Can I even fight properly in this state? Well, it didn't matter. There were no schools left to challenge anyway. For 30 years, An Hien had roamed the Yan kingdom, challenging every sect, from the lowly dojos to the great clans. There was virtually no sect in the kingdom he hadn't stepped foot in. Now, he hunted criminals to survive. He was even chasing mountain bandits, but in this dizzy, sensory overloaded state. Could he survive against enemies who fought dirty? One of the bandits spotted him and screamed, Boss, that's the guy. And Hien was lost in thought. Whatever happens, this is the path I chose. The bandit leader hefted a massive blade, sneering, You're dead meat. And Hien took his stance. Even if I die, isn't this the road I must walk? In a split second, and Hien wiped out the entire bandit crew blocking his path. Another 15 years passed, and Hien looked at the man before him. You're still alive. Vo Huan laughed loudly. Yeah, escape death again. Escape death. And Hien calculated silently. It's been 45 years since I returned to this life. His vision and hearing were beyond human. Now, even his sense of touch, taste, and smell had reached the absolute peak. But that was it, and Hien still wasn't a grandmaster. He frowned. I still haven't reached the ultimate state. Why? Vo Huan sipped his tea. I'm a wanted man among the cultivators now. 2 of them set a trap. I barely escaped. But I managed to leave a scratch on one of their faces. And Hien cut him off. Did you gain another enlightenment? Vo Huan scoffed. It's ridiculous, really. Defeating a core formation cultivator is impossible. If I hadn't run, I'd just be a corpse rotting in the dirt right now. You know, I've been thinking, maybe this limit I've hit is the absolute end of the martial path. Even with that breaking through the mortal dust technique you gave me. I wonder, did you think the same thing back then? No matter how strong we get, no matter how much we master the arts, so we can't be cultivators with just martial arts. An Hien thought to himself, why do I see my own shadow in Kim Vo Huan? He's a genius blessed by the heavens. See, while I was born with a destiny discarded by the Tao. He and I are complete opposites in talent. So why? Why does he look so much like me right now? And Hien finally spoke. It's frustrating. I can't understand why I can't reach the ultimate state. Vo Huan replied, I see. So even after copying my sword aura and my perspective, you still couldn't break through. Shall we have one last spar, just like the old days? That taunt of yours. It's the most tempting offer I've heard in years. Above them, the high moon bathes the entire courtyard in cold light. Yin Xian gets sent flying backward by Wu Xun's strike. He clutches his stomach in agony and curses. Damn it, what the hell is the problem? Wu Xun answers immediately. Honestly, I don't know either. You should have reached the Grandmaster realm ages ago. Yin Xian coughs up a mouthful of blood. Say that again. He looks his friend over, completely baffled. I just don't get it. Why is it like this? Even if you lack talent, maybe what you're missing is a trigger, a moment of pure despair, or a drive so powerful it forces you past your limits through sheer, insane focus. That snaps something inside Yin Xian's mind. He screams, Trigger my ass. I've held a sword for over 50 years. That's my entire life. And you're asking me if I wanted enough? You think I haven't felt enough despair? I've struggled my whole life just to claw my way out of mediocrity. I opened every meridian in my body. Even in my sleep. I grip my sword and channel sword chi. Even in my dreams, I analyze every single thing my eyes see. So why the hell hasn't the next realm shown itself to me yet? Why not? Even I know how pathetic it looks an old man pushing 70, still cursing the heavens and blaming his fate. But why I've chased the sword Dao my whole life, starving for the next level, yet I can't catch even a shadow of it. Wu Xun falls silent, looking down at Yin Xian groaning on the ground. He carves a few characters into a nearby tree and speaks. While fighting you, I came up with a technique to cover your weaknesses. Oh, it might not be much comfort, but I hope mastering it gives you some peace. Yin Xian glances at the carving. Mountain King arts and sun and moon footwork. Are you just going to disappear like this again? Another year passes. Yin Xian steps onto his porch, lost in thought. It's been 50 years since I returned to this life. He sighs aloud. Not much time left before I close my eyes for good. Brother Wu Xun, you're dead, aren't you? So this is the fate the heavens arranged for us. No matter how hard I struggle, this is my limit. And maybe your talent only reached that far too. Commoners like us. No matter how we fight, we can't escape the destiny heaven dictates. Suddenly, Wu Xun appears. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Yin Xian spins around. Seeing his friend's tattered state, he gasps. Damn it. What did you do before coming here? You're in critical condition. I need to get my medical kit. Suddenly, Wu Xun yanks him high into the air. Yin Xian panics, looking around wildly. What the? Didn't he lose both his arms? Wu Xun screams with excitement. Look, Yin Xian, that crazy cultivator is catching up. This is the price I paid for blowing off the arm of a golden core cultivator. I actually heard a golden core expert. I saw it with my own eyes, the realm beyond the 5 martial paths. The thing a martial artist is never supposed to reach. I saw it. He spins in midair, eyes wide and manic. Wu Xun looks at Yin Xian and laughs loudly. Watch this, I risked my life to get this far. Yin Xian stares in shock. That's an astral chi. Astral. Wu Xun continues. I use this to crush a golden core cultivator's arm. He fires the gathered astral chi straight down at Yin Xian's house. Looking at the destruction, Wu Xun shouts, watch closely. Yin Xian, this is the result of a lifetime of martial arts. Yin Xian looks down at his home. Tears welling in his eyes. My house. He starts wailing internally. He poured 50 years of savings into that place, living under the name Infinite Battle Demon. Beside him, Wu Xun laughs. Now look, I ran 1,000 miles just to show you this, because I've decided to entrust my dying wish to you. Yin Xian feels a void opening in his chest, followed by a surge of rage. But he forces himself to calm down, fixing his eyes on his friend's martial display. As he watches, he thinks about the 3-story building that just vaporized without a trace. Thank God the servants weren't home. That single strike would have killed hundreds instantly. Look at the sword marks left in the ruins. I get it. That ball of astral chi was a fusion of thousands of sword chi strands. The power is unimaginable, stronger than any art Jin Wu Xun has ever shown me. Wu Xun cuts through his thoughts. This is how I shattered a golden core cultivator's arm. Before, I had to ambush or assassinate just to kill a chi refining cultivator, but now I can face them head on. Then, gravity takes over. As they plummet from the sky, Yin Xian stammers, we're falling. Mu Hun crashed into the earth below with catastrophic force, obliterating the surrounding forests. Gasping for air on the dirt, he rasped to Yin Hyun, listen well. Never forget these techniques. They are the culmination of my entire life. You must pass on my martial arts to the next generation. Yin Hyun snapped back urgently. I heard you, now shut up. You're hanging by a thread here. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. Found you at last, the infinite demon. Tisk, bad luck running all the way here. You there, mortal. That man is a sinner who committed unforgivable crimes against the cultivation world. Leave him. Yin Hyun narrowed his eyes. You came all this way just to punish him. The stranger ignored the question. Are you an associate of his? Without a word, Yin Hyun hoisted Mu Hun onto his back and bolted. The cultivator watched them flee, amused. Did the infinite demon tell you nothing about us? Fine then. I'll treat this as a little hunt. Run as fast as you can. Yin Hyun glanced back mid-sprint. A horde of Jiangshi was closing in. He cursed inwardly. Damn it. I'm too old for this garbage. Mu Hun murmured curiously. Hey, infinite demon. Is that what those cultivators call you? How original. Yin Hyun shot back. The infinite demon and the endless war devil. 2 demons being chased by a pack of corpses. What a ridiculous way to go. Hey, forget that. Stay with me. Say something. Damn it. A Jiangshi suddenly lunged from the brush, claws swiping at them. Eun-hyun reacted instantly, crushing it before delivering a heavy kick that sent the corpse flying backward, knocking down the pursuing pack. Eun-hyun grumbled, "Damn it, Moo-hun. You should be the one carrying me. I'm about to die of exhaustion here. Why did you have to go and get both your arms chopped off?" The Jiangxi were relentless. Eun-hyun gritted his teeth, forced his legs to move, and kept running. Day and night blurred together. The sun rose and set countless times. Finally, carrying Moo-hun, Eun-hyun reached the edge of a sheer cliff. The horde was closing in. He peered over the edge and cursed. "Shit, it's too high." The cultivator floated down, voice dripping with amusement. "I am truly impressed. A mere mortal surviving 3 days and nights against my pets, but there is nowhere left to run. Besides, the infinite demon is already dead." Eun-hyun turned, his eyes burning with resolve. "I know. I'm a physician, remember?" The cultivator tilted his head. "Then why run? My business was only with the infinite demon. You could have just tossed his corpse aside and saved yourself." Eun-hyun suddenly broke into a wide, manic grin. The cultivator frowned. "You find this funny? Mountain-breaking sword, dragon vein arts, warlord's path, heaven-piercing steps. I, a talentless hack, made it this far only because of Kim Moo-hun. He was my compatriot and my master." Eun-hyun roared, "If you want my master's head, you'll have to step over my dead body first." The cultivator's expression darkened. He scoffed. "You ignorant ants really have no fear of the heavens. Are you brave or just senile? Fine. I will show you that a cultivator can inflict pain far worse than death." Suddenly, 2 severed arms flew through the air, not at Eun-hyun, but past him. Eun-hyun froze, confused. His eyes went wide with horror. The attack wasn't meant for him. The severed arms slammed back onto Moo-hun's corpse, stitching themselves onto the bloody stumps. The corpse jerked upright, unnatural and stiff. The cultivator commanded, "Rise, parasite. Make him pay for disrespecting an immortal." Eun-hyun gritted his teeth until they nearly cracked, glaring at the monster in human skin. "You demonic filth!" The cultivator ignored the insult, his voice cold. "Now, infinite demon, kill your disciple." Moo-hun, now a frenzied Jiangxi, let out a blood-curdling scream. He lunged without hesitation, swiping at Eun-hyun, who barely ducked under the blow. Eun-hyun looked up, his face twisted in pure rage, and screamed at the floating figure. "How dare you! He's gone! How dare you defile his final rest like this?" The cultivator merely smirked, looking down with undisguised contempt. Below, Eun-hyun danced around Moo-hun's strikes. He breathed a sigh of relief. Moo-hun was attacking with brute force fueled by the cultivator, not his martial arts. Yet, the raw speed and power were terrifying. Eun-hyun's aging body screamed in protest. He couldn't keep this up. He gritted his teeth, barely deflecting a strike, and cursed his own weakness. To Eun-hyun, even raising a blade against Moo-hun, even his corpse, was a sin that could never be washed away. He bit his lip until it bled. "I'm sorry." The rest of the apology died in his throat. "I have no choice. I have to end this." Mind made up, he unleashed the 21st form of the mountain-breaking sword, the Heavenly Pool. As the technique flowed through him, a memory flashed in his mind the day he had asked Moo-hun about this very move. He had asked why. When every other technique was named after peaks and valleys, this one alone was named after a lake. Woo-soon froze for a moment at the question. He silently figured that since his brother created this move specifically for him in their past life, he probably already knew the answer. Woo-soon leaned back onto the grass. Heavenly Pool. It makes me think of the heavenly lake atop Mount Baekdu. Hearing the name Mount Baekdu, Yin Xian was slightly taken aback. He looked up at the sky and laughed. "That's right. Who knows, maybe this world has a lake just like it. Or maybe that name was given by a Korean just like us." Laughter echoed under the sunny blue sky. Could be. The lake named Heavenly Pool is a body of water that reflects the entire sky. Back in reality, Yin Xian stared at his blade, deep in thought. The Heavenly Pool captures the sky within its depths, yet the water itself never changes. The word heaven in the mountain-breaking sword is a metaphor for the martial artist he faces. Like, while pool represents Yin Xian's single strike that encompasses that entire sky. He calmly turned to face Woo-soon, who was swinging his sword. In a split second, he was blasted backward by a massive surge of power. Yin Xian remained silent. The heavenly pool of the mountain-breaking sword arts absorbs all the chi from the enemy's meridians, channeling it into the blade's aura for a fleeting moment, and then unleashes a single strike that obliterates the enemy, detonating them while their internal energy is sealed within his sword aura. This is a technique only Yin Xian can use. As a supreme healer who mastered the 8 meridians, this move belongs solely to him, because it was created specifically for him. Yin Xian glanced over at Woo-soon. If his body remains intact, it will be turned into a Jiangxi, a walking corpse. I cannot let that happen. I won't leave a single piece of him behind. Yin Xian slowly drew his sword from its sheath. He vowed to pour every ounce of his internal energy into one final strike, fusing the entirety of the mountain-breaking sword arts. Instantaneously, he unsheathed the blade, unleashing the first form Peak Piercer. The slash flew towards Woo-soon, cutting straight through the center of his body. Without pausing, Yin Xian unleashed 5 consecutive strikes, from the second form all the way to the 6th. Woo-soon couldn't dodge. He took every single hit, His body, now covered in crisscrossing wounds, roared in agony. Seeing this, he grit his teeth. He had to hack him into pieces. He would not let those filth cultivators desecrate Wuxun's remains any longer. Just then, the cultivator hovering above roared in fury. He cursed Yin Xian as a maggot and raised his hand to cast a spell. Instantly, Wuxun's body ballooned, swelling to several times its original size. Yin Xian realized the bastard had pumped more power into the corpse. He cursed internally, preparing to dodge. But then, a thought struck him. What is the point of dodging? My life is ending soon anyway. I'm already a dead man walking. So, I will seize this very moment. With that resolve, Yin Xian channeled power into his legs, bracing himself. I will ensure my master is never defiled again. He launched himself forward with such force that the ground beneath him shattered. He would burn it all down. Opposite him, the mutated Wuxun screamed in tormented agony. Yin Xian told himself he would die, but his spirit rebelled. No, not yet. I can't die now, just a little longer. He clenched his jaw so hard that fresh blood trickled out. The area around me. Focus. Sound. Smell. Humidity. Heat. The copper taste of blood on his tongue. Veins bulged on Yin Xian's face. My brain feels like it's going to explode. Then let it explode. Yin Xian roared like a madman. More, push it until my brain burns to ash. Suddenly, an explosion flashed before his eyes, leaving only a blinding red glare. Yin Xian's eyes widened in absolute shock. He thought his mind would shatter, but instead of collapsing under the pressure of death, it transcended. He felt adrift in a boundless void. What is this, an hallucination? Then, he saw something that made him freeze. In his vision, red lines extended from Wuxun's fingertips, tracing trajectories straight toward where Yin Xian stood. The moment the giant hand smashed down along that path, Yin Xian had already leaped away. Immediately after, he saw a green line connecting the tip of his sword to a target. Without thinking, Yin Xian swung his blade along that emerald path. In a heartbeat, his blade sliced clean through Wuxun's upper body. Yin Xian stared in disbelief. Is this the vision of a martial artist at the peak realm? Suddenly, he saw something strange. Wuxun, who had lost all reason, was smirking at him. Yin Xian charged forward. One was a genius blessed by the heavens, the other, a prodigy abandoned by them. Opposites in every way, yet bound by one truth, both had spent their entire lives struggling to escape the fate ordained by the heavens. In the blink of an eye, Wuxun's body was diced into countless scattered pieces. In this world, there is no genius or fool. There are only two men who fought destiny with everything they had. One is already dead. The other stands at death's door. In that fleeting moment, the image of the old Wuxun seemed to appear, smiling brightly at him. Are you planning to stop here? Of course not, Yin Xian whispered to himself, launching into the air. He unleashed the final technique, the 15th form of the mountain-breaking sword, Layered Mountains. Dust and debris instantly swallowed the earth. Yin Xian gazed into the thick cloud. Yes, this is the end. He turned his gaze toward the furious face of the cultivator. Eunhyun fell into a freefall, completely satisfied. Now, not even the cultivators could desecrate Muhun's corpse. He smiled with deep contentment. Please, rest in peace, my master. And just like that, Eunhyun finally reached the martial realm he had longed for his entire life. Bringing an end to a life of ceaseless war, that was his fourth regression, the fourth life of Eunhyun. He snapped his eyes open, as if waking from a deep dream. Eunhyun looked down, staring at his open palm. I've regressed again. In my past life, I fought until the bitter end, and I finally achieved it. He clenched his fist, muttering to himself with intensity. The next second, Eunhyun threw his head back and roared. I finally reached the pinnacle. He had attained the realm he'd chased his entire existence. His celebration was cut short by a harsh shout. Hey, you damn steward, Myung-hoon cursed, swinging his hand violently toward him. What the hell are you babbling about? This is all your fault, you lunatic. Eunhyun shot him a cold glare. Instantly, he saw a red line. In a flash, he ducked, effortlessly dodging the blow. Myung-hoon gritted his teeth in rage. You dare dodge. Eunhyun smirked slightly. Even with his eyes closed, he could clearly see exactly where Myung-hoon would strike next. Just as predicted, he effortlessly evaded every single one of the man's attacks. In the past, Eunhyun could dodge Myung-hoon blindfolded, but that relied on predicting trajectories and decades of martial arts experience. But this was entirely different. It wasn't prediction. It was precognition. Eunhyun suddenly understood. So this is why no amount of first-rate masters can ever defeat someone at the pinnacle. They can see right through every attack angle and trajectory of the weak. How could a first-rate master ever stand a chance? His eyes gleamed with the sharpness of a hawk. Now, in Eunhyun's vision, Myung-hoon was surrounded by glowing blue lines. He felt it instinctively. These blue lines led straight to gaps in the enemy's defense, marking the optimal attack trajectories Yin Xian could take. The red lines revealed the enemy's attack patterns, while the blue lines guided Yin Xian to deliver the perfect counterstrike. He locked eyes on Myung-hoon, who was swinging a fist straight at him. Maybe the gap between us is so massive that I can see this many openings. Suddenly, hot blood trickled from his nose, snapping Yin Xian out of his thoughts. An instant later, a splitting headache struck without warning. He gritted his teeth, clutching his head as his brain felt like it was on fire. Is this vision overloading my brain? Just then, Myung-hoon struck again, but Yin Xian simply leaned back, dodging effortlessly. He cursed violently. "You bastard! You almost got us all killed! And you still dare to dodge me!" Before he could finish, Yin Xian's hand chopped hard into the back of Myung-hoon's neck. His eyes rolled back, and he collapsed instantly. As Myung-hoon hit the ground face first, the others rushed over. By now, Yin Xian's headache was unbearable. He clutched his head, trembling. Kim Yeon stepped forward, concerned. "Vice Steward Yin Xian, are you all right?" The pain subsided slightly. "I didn't expect it to hurt this much after such short use," he thought. "What's the problem here?" Yin Xian quickly spoke to his colleagues, calming them down. He led them into a small cave, started a fire, and roasted some fruit to help them rest. Soon, everyone was fast asleep around the campfire. Outside, the sky was pitch black, and the forest was terrifyingly silent. Breaking the silence was the sharp whistle of wood cutting the air. Yin Xian was wielding a dry branch like a sword. Swish. A falling leaf was sliced into two perfect halves. He sheathed the branch like a blade, staring at his work. He hadn't used a single drop of internal energy, yet he sliced a leaf with a blunt stick. The vision of the pinnacle allowed Yin Xian to predict his enemies, his brain automatically processing everything into red and blue lines. With this vision, he could see through absolutely on every action of the enemy and strike their weak points with the most optimal trajectory. Yin Xian suddenly realized something. This was why Mu-hoon called sensory memory a simulation of a pinnacle master's vision. He smirked. He forced me to heighten my five senses, compelled me to analyze opponent trajectories using only my own brain. Yin Xian stared at the blue lines connecting the branch to the falling leaves. This vision of the pinnacle, it was truly terrifying. Time passed, and the full moon hung high above. He looked coldly at the green leaves raining down around him. The next second, Yin Xian closed his eyes, focusing his mind to the absolute limit. He visualized a horde of sword-wielding enemies charging at him all at once. Yin Xian swung the branch, slashing through the imaginary foes with relentless precision. Each one was cut down with a single strike. Before long, the first light of dawn broke the horizon. The sound of Yin Xian's heavy breathing filled the air. He tilted his head back, letting the sunlight wash over his face, a satisfied smile on his lips. At his feet lay countless shredded leaves. His voice rang out with joy. "I have finally reached the true pinnacle." But in the midst of his joy, agony struck. Yin Xian gritted his teeth and clutched his head. It felt like his brain was being roasted alive. But after locating 8 golden bamboo roots nearby and activating the dragon vein technique, Yin Xian can now sustain this vision for 6 whole hours. Now that he's reached this realm, he no longer needs to rely on the bamboo roots. Even money issues can be solved with his own power, with plenty to spare. Returning to the cave where his colleagues slept yesterday, Yin Xian stands before Wu-sun, who is sleeping like the dead. He recalls the 6 volumes of research and the final teachings Wu-sun left behind before he died in the previous timeline. Yin Xian is certain if he passes on this knowledge now, Wu-sun will far surpass his past self. He tosses a woven leaf bag to the ground. Now that I've reached the absolute peak, the guidance I can receive from Wu-sun will go far beyond what I got in my past life. Yin Xian quietly steps out. He still doesn't know how to break through to the next realm. But unlike his colleagues, a fool like him has only one path: endless, grueling cultivation to maintain this ultimate vision until his brain adapts to it. Yin Xian's first goal in this life is to eliminate the searing pain that burns him whenever he activates the vision, and then to reach the realm of 3 flowers gathering at the summit. Full of determination, he steps outside. I will reach the limit of the absolute peak, the state known as 3 flowers gathering at the summit. Dawn breaks, sunlight bathing the forest. The fox known as the master of the forest appears in this timeline. Yin Xian extends his arm to offer it to the fox, but suddenly, curiosity strikes. He wonders, can I see the red lines on this fox too? The answer is yes, he sees them, dense and everywhere. He falls back in horror. Red. Everything is red. The fox doesn't give him a second before chomping down on his arm. Yin Xian resigns himself, thinking, I can't win. He suppresses the pain. What is this? Why is my entire vision filled with these red threads? A few days later, when the cultivators appear, Yin Xian is shocked again. The dense red lines look like they're blotting out the sky. He freezes in sheer amazement. So this is the gap between a martial artist and a cultivator. I can't win. There are no openings at all. And so, Yin Xian has to watch helplessly as they take his colleagues away. Even a supreme martial arts master would struggle to defeat the weakest cultivator at the initial stage of the Qi refining realm. The day after the cultivators took his colleagues, he asked the Sea Dragon King, Zilu, a question. Yin Xian clasps his hands respectfully. A lowly mortal begs to ask a question. The Great Dragon King turns, smirking slightly. What is it? He explains what he saw and asks about the red sphere the cultivators possess. Zilu chuckles. Cultivators have something called divine consciousness. Some also call it the power of divine awareness. He presses 2 fingers to the center of his forehead. While a mortal's consciousness is limited to their brain, a cultivator's consciousness can cover the entire surrounding space. Zilu mentions he possesses that power too, then turns to leave, leaving Yin Xian behind, bowing in gratitude. Since they spoke in the language of the Yan Kingdom, Wu Xun didn't understand a word. Shortly after the Sea Dragon King leaves, the hunchbacked puppet master appears again. He came to capture manager Kim, but he also throws Yin Xian and Wu Xun into a dimensional rift. They fall into a vast body of water. He struggles to open an eye. What is this, a blue sky with drifting white clouds? Down below, Yin Xian wrings out his shirt, muttering, Damn it, last time it was a tree, now it's water. What the hell is going on? He wonders as he shakes his shirt dry. Soon, Wu Xun wakes up, looking around in confusion. Where are we? Yin Xian answers, a completely different place. He assesses the situation as he puts his shirt back on. Judging by the terrain, this is G2 Lake in the Yan Kingdom. Changhao City should be nearby. He thinks anxiously. What do we do now if there are people nearby? We can ask for directions. Wu Xun spots some houses across the lake, and Yin Xian confirms it. The next second, he dives into the lake like a professional swimmer. I can swim, so I'll go get us some clothes and food. Wu Xun shouts in panic to stop him, but it's too late. Yin Xian curses as he swims. Damn it! Why the hell did I bother drying my clothes earlier? If he remembers correctly, those buildings are the bandit mountain stronghold. In his past life, Yin Xian came here to wipe them out. Their leader is a late first-rate master, the deputy is mid-first-rate, and the rest are just second and third-rate trash. They had overwhelming numbers, of course, so he used a poisoned sword to exterminate them. On the shore, a bandit spots Yin Xian and gapes in surprise. What the hell? Another bandit sees him and bursts out laughing. Who's this idiot? Do you have any idea where you just swam to? Get lost before I kill you, kid. But their insults don't slow Yin Xian's pace one bit. Furious, the bandit rushes forward, swinging his club. Didn't you hear me, you bastard? I said beat it. In a split second, Yin Xian blasts him straight into the lake. The remaining bandits just stand there, jaws hitting the floor in total shock. Yin Xian casually picks up the guy's staff, weighing it in his hand. Not bad, he mutters. Stepping onto the shore, he points the weapon straight at one of them. You, how many people have you killed? Furious, the thug swings his iron mace. Screw you, I've slaughtered 50 people. But in less than a second, Yin Xian sends the bastard's head flying from his shoulders. Witnessing the gore, the others grit their teeth in pure terror. Yin Xian coldly tilts his chin up. Alright then, from this moment on, anyone who's ever taken a life, come at me. Meanwhile, at the center of the camp stands the tallest, most luxurious building. Inside, the bandits are drinking and laughing like maniacs while forcing young girls to serve them. Suddenly, a roar cuts through the noise. Die, you filth! A blood-curdling scream follows, making the terrified girls jump. One bandit frowns, annoyed. Did a rat sneak in or something? The next instant, Yin Xian's silhouette darkens the doorway. One hand grips a wooden staff, the other clutches the severed head of a bandit. The leader scowls, cursing him out before ordering his men to grab their weapons. Looks like we really do have a rat to exterminate. Yin Xian ignores the armed mob and strides right in. Raising his staff with a dark aura, he declares, I don't need to ask what you trash have done. Today, every single one of you dies. Not long after, the ground outside the Great Hall is littered with bloody, mangled corpses. Inside, the leader's arrogance has vanished. He crawls on the floor, trembling in fear, begging for mercy. Yin Xian steps casually into a pool of blood. Let me ask you something. He points the staff at the trembling man. How long have I been here? The leader stammers. About 15 minutes. Yin Xian does the mental math. In his past life, it took a whole day to wipe them out. Back then, he had to set fires, retreat, and use poison to pick them off one by one. Thinking back on it, Yin Xian looks down at his blood-soaked staff. But now, just 15 minutes with a simple wooden stick, and it's over. Without hesitation, he raises the weapon to finish off the leader. The bandit frantically screams that he'll show Yin Xian the hidden stash. But before he can finish the sentence, Yin Xian sends his head flying. Yin Xian watches the blood spray coldly. I already know where it is. I was here in my past life. He walks over to the secret vault and unlocks it with the key. Suddenly, a chorus of voices erupts behind him. Thank you. Yin Xian turns to see countless people kneeling, thanking him for avenging them and eliminating the bandit scum. He doesn't speak, simply giving a slight nod of acknowledgement. The man at the front stammers, Please, may we know your title? If you tell us, we will remember this kindness forever. Hearing title, Yin Xian scratches his head. He thinks for a moment and says, Write this down, then infinite battle spirit. He scratches his cheek, looking a bit awkward. That shall be my name. The next morning, as the sun rises, Yin Xian and Jin Wu Xun head to Kanghu City. With the money they looted, they buy identity plaques and purchase a large manor. Just like in his previous life, Yin Xian teaches Jin Woo-soon how to read and fight. Day by day, time flies, and before they know it, 2 months have passed. Woo-soon's internal energy is now surging, far more vibrant and powerful than ever before. Watching him improve even faster than in the past, Yin Xian can't help but voice his amazement, but deep down, it leaves him feeling a strange sense of emptiness. It's inevitable, really. This is how it has always been. Watching Woo-soon from a distance, Yin Xian muses. Some spend their whole lives trying to reach the peak, yet others, with just a bit of guidance and a top-tier manual, they ascend straight to the Three Flowers Gathering realm. He walks over and smiles. Congratulations, brother. You haven't even finished learning to read, yet you've already broken through to the Three Flowers Gathering stage. Woo-soon beams with excitement. Honestly, even I find it strange. I never imagined I had this kind of talent for martial arts. Yin Xian falls into deep thought. In the past, after Jin Woo-soon reached that level, Yin Xian never once had a proper duel with him. It was always Yin Xian receiving guidance, forever in his shadow. He grips his sword tighter, wondering, but what about now? Yin Xian, a master at the absolute peak, looks at Jin Woo-soon, who has just entered the realm. He carefully asks, brother, do you want to spar with me? Woo-soon laughs and stands up. Sounds fun, but why do I get the feeling that this time you might actually beat me? Moments later, they head to a secluded mountain peak behind the city. Without wasting a second, Yin Xian and Woo-soon clash in a fierce battle. Woo-soon unleashes the pulse, severing dragon art. Instantly, the world fades to gray, leaving only streaks of blue and red light moving at breakneck speed. Yin Xian finds his blade being pushed back by Woo-soon's overwhelming force. I need to dodge, fast, he thinks. But after taking one step back, Yin Xian changes his mind. No, if I retreat now, he'll just corner me. A sudden surge of competitiveness ignites in his chest. He refuses to lose, though he can't quite explain why it matters so much. As he prepares to counterattack, the realization hits him. In this lifetime, this is his one and only chance to ever defeat his brother. Because from today on, Jin Woo-soon will evolve at a monstrous speed. If they fight again, he will be soaring so high that Yin Xian will never be able to reach him. With a violent clash, they slammed into each other, and Hien was blasted backwards, sent flying through the air, barely managing to stabilize his body before hitting the ground. Now that his senior brother had entered the Three Flowers Gathering at the Summit Realm, this was in Hien's last chance in this lifetime to ever defeat him. And Hien slipped 2 concealed darts from his gauntlet. He told himself, I have to win this. Even if it takes everything I've got, I must take him down. Without hesitation, and Hien launched the 2 darts straight at Vo Huan with lethal speed. Han looked surprised, but his reflexes were godlike. He blocked them instantly. But An Hien grinned. He had successfully interrupted the flow of Huan's sword technique. Seizing the opening, and Hien slammed his blade into the earth, carving a deep, jagged trench across the battlefield. A flicker of arrogance crossed his face. When it came to raw combat experience, and Hien was still leagues ahead, he yanked his sword upward, shattering the ground beneath them. Debris exploded everywhere as he executed the Liu Ling melodic sword style. But it wasn't over. A sinister smirk crept onto Vo Huan's face. He declared with terrifying confidence, Little brother, let me show you the true power of the Three Flowers Gathering at the summit. And Hien froze. His eyes widened in shock as every instinct in his body screamed one word, danger. A chill ran down his spine. Something catastrophic was coming. The moment the words left Huan's lips, a massive surge of blade aura erupted. He swung his sword, unleashing a devastating strike from above. The strike hit the ground and obliterated An Hien's attack instantly. The resulting shockwave blasted everything away, and Hien's mind raced. I can't block this directly. If I try, I'll be chopped into mincemeat. Only one option remained. He grit his teeth, deciding to face that monstrous power head-on with the melodic sword art he'd practiced for years. This was the ultimate technique created by the genius of the century, Kim Vo Huan, the man who would eventually reach the 5 Chi orienting the origin realm. With zero hesitation, and Hien unleashed the Empty Valley Echo counterattack. Boom! 2 massive energies collided, triggering a deafening explosion that shook the entire forest to its core. Dust and debris choked the air. As the smoke cleared, Vo Huan emerged completely unscathed, looking as calm as a still lake. Truly terrifying. An Hien, on the other hand, was gasping for air, frustration burning in his chest. How his blade should have shattered. He should have been blown backward. Suddenly, clang. Vo Huan's sword snapped in 2 and fell to the ground. Huan spoke up. Well, looks like I lost this one. He smiled, accepting his defeat. For a martial artist, having your weapon destroyed is the ultimate humiliation. Your skills have really matured, brother. And he unsheathed his sword, his expression somber. Don't worry, brother, because from this day forward, I will never be able to beat you again. He knew, in his heart, this was the last victory he would ever claim against him. An Hien believed that even in his next life, he could never surpass the monster named Vo Huan. Back at their hideout, An Hien spoke up. Brother, since you've reached the Three Flowers realm, please accept this congratulatory gift I prepared. I looked surprised. I thought that spar was the gift. You actually got me something else. And Hien nodded and handed it over. It was a private martial arts manual titled The Avian Ascension Scripture. I bought it from an old man, and Hien explained. He said you need to be at the 3 flowers stage just to learn the basics. I tried reading it, but it's gibberish to me. So, it's yours. Han took the book, his eyes lighting up. This is a rare destiny indeed. I accept it with gratitude. From that day on, Vohan became obsessed. He spent every waking moment devouring the 6 volumes of the scripture. 4 months flew by, and Hien returned to their hideout, beaming. Brother, I made a killing on a bounty today. I caught a bandit leader. The reward was huge. He stopped. The room was empty. Books were scattered everywhere on the floor, but Vohan was gone. He scanned the room. No aura, no presence. Did he leave? He turned around and nearly jumped out of his skin. Vohan was right there, and materialized out of thin air, laughing smugly. I just tested a stealth technique from the scripture. Just as I thought. Even you couldn't sense me. This book is a god-tier artifact. And Hien stood there, speechless. That strange technique. It felt terrifyingly familiar. In his past life. Kim Vohan could only do that after reaching the 5 Chi realm. But now it hasn't even been a year since the regression. And he's already using it. Han rambled on excitedly. That was just one trick. Even a peak expert like you couldn't spot me. I could assassinate anyone I wanted. On Hien felt a pang of inferiority. He forced a smile. Talent really does make a difference, doesn't it? Han changed the subject. He wanted to go out into the Jianghu to gain combat experience and asked An Hien to join. But at the mention of the Jianghu, An Hien refused. I'm not ready. And Hien explained, I need to solidify my foundation at the peak realm first. I thought about it. Fair point. You're still in the early stages. You can't even manipulate sword silk yet. Eun Hyun gives a bitter smile, admitting he's actually developed an interest in the royal family. Moo Hoon looks at him, genuinely surprised by this sudden pivot. Eun Hyun explains that having an insider in the government will eventually be a massive advantage for Moo Hoon in the Murim world. It's a long-term play. Moo Hoon is touched, realizing his brother is planning this solely to support him. With that silent pact, Eun Hyun and Moo Hoon part ways for now. But of course, Eun Hyun has an ulterior motive. From his time as a strategist for the Murim Alliance, he knows the Kingdom of Yan's royalty has deep, secret ties to immortal cultivators. There are even wild whispers circulating in the shadows, claiming the royal family is actually a branch of a massive cultivation clan. To verify this, Eun Hyun makes his first move enlisting in the Yan army. Thanks to his infamous reputation as a bounty hunter in the Murim, the military welcomes him with open arms. He dominates the ranks, proving his strength and skyrocketing to the position of general in record time. Next, he applies for the Imperial Shadow Guards and crushes the selection process. It's been 5 years since his regression, and everything is going exactly to plan. Today, Eun Hyun receives the ultimate assignment: protect the Emperor himself. He must keep the ruler safe, even at the cost of his own life. He accepts the order without hesitation, swearing an oath of absolute loyalty to seal the deal. Now a member of the secret detail, he endures 4 months of brutal training in stealth arts and the ghost breath technique before finally taking his post at the Emperor's side. The moment he finally lays eyes on the Emperor during his first audience, Eun Hyun is hit with a terrifying realization. The Emperor isn't just a mortal ruler. He's a cultivator. Perched on his throne, the Emperor stares down with an unreadable, sinister gaze like a predator plotting its next move. Eun Hyun locks eyes with him, tense. He senses it immediately. Consciousness. The unique sensory perception that only belongs to a cultivator. This man was born with a spirit root. As the audience ends and Eun Hyun steps outside, he runs into the princes and princesses. The pattern is undeniable. Almost every single member of the royal family possesses consciousness. They are all cultivators. He scans them, unimpressed. None of them are true masters. In terms of raw combat power, they're weaker than a common fox. Still, they represent the chi refining stage. Eun Hyun finds it ironic. Why does a peak martial master like him need to protect people who essentially wield magic? And the Emperor. His aura is far too oppressive to be mere first stage chi refining. With that kind of power, he could wipe out the entire Shadow Guard solo. He only keeps them around so he doesn't have to dirty his own hands swatting flies. The Emperor is a magnet for death. Every single night, assassins strike, and every single night, Eun Hyun slaughters them in the shadows. His expression hardens. He wonders if he should be grateful. At least this job gives him endless live combat practice. 5 long years pass in the darkness, serving as the royal shadow. Meanwhile, Kim Woo-hoon has ascended to the throne of the Murim Alliance, becoming the Alliance leader. As a shadow guard, Eun Hyun is forbidden from contacting the Alliance leader. Naturally, he ignores that, sneaking out to share drinks and stories with his old friend. One pitch black night, something changes. Strange, glowing red threads suddenly materialize around Moo-hoon's blade. Eun Hyun analyzes them instantly. Those red lines. They represent the optimal attack paths Moo-hoon would take if they were fighting. He watches closely, realizing the danger. If he stepped into that trajectory, Moo-hoon would cut him down in a heartbeat. No. Wait. This sensation mimics the consciousness of a cultivator. The pieces are finally falling into place for Eun Hyun. He feels a pang of regret. If he had reached the three flowers gathering at the summit stage, he could see even more. For now, he has to study this phenomenon closely. He berates himself for not grasping it fully yet, but he knows this is the key to unlocking the legendary sword lines. Beside him, Moo-hoon is absorbing energy, pushing his limits until snap, he breaks through, evolving right before Eunhyun's eyes. A blinding aura explodes from his body, illuminating the dark room. Moo-hoon has ascended, his physical form transforming in the process. Eunhyun grins. Congratulations, brother. You look years younger. Moo-hoon laughs. I made it. I've finally reached 5 key orienting to the origin. Moo-hoon adds, it's a shame, really. If you had reached 3 flowers gathering at the summit, you'd be able to see what I see right now. Eunhyun sighs, accepting the gap between them. I know, but my cultivation just isn't there yet. Moo-hoon glances at a pile of manuals on the floor. Still, these might help. Take them, study them. Walking him out, Moo-hoon lowers his voice. You've encountered cultivators in the palace, haven't you? Eunhyun nods, confirming it. Eunhyun explains, the consciousness they use, it feels almost identical to the domain you just formed. Do you think they're connected? Moo-hoon considers this. I've thought about that. Within this domain, I feel like I could actually fight a chi refining cultivator on equal footing. It seems that reaching 5 chi orienting to the origin grants a vision similar to theirs. Hearing this, Eunhyun feels the last piece of the puzzle click into place. A martial artist at the 5 key stage can cultivate just like a mystic. It's a shift in perspective, just like the massive gap in worldview between a first-rate master and a peak master. The gap between the peak realm and 5 chi toward the origin was truly heaven and earth. What he witnessed today would be crucial for Eunhyun to eventually reach that state. That day. After learning from Moo-hoon, Eunhyun returned to the Imperial Palace. A few days later, while on night watch duty at the royal court, he spotted an assassin lurking on the palace roof. Eunhyun immediately shifted into a defensive stance, but suddenly, a flash of red light blinded him. It was a peak realm master. In an instant, a blade slashed straight down at him. It aimed right for Eunhyun, but he dodged just in time. Judging by the aura, this attacker had only recently stepped into the peak realm. The assassin leaped down, swinging their sword in a vicious assault on Eunhyun. They clashed in a fierce duel, blades grinding against each other with lethal intent, but something felt wrong. Eunhyun was distracted. He couldn't focus on the fight. His mind was consumed by the image of Moo-hoon reaching the 5 chi toward the origin. Eunhyun questioned himself, what is sword ki? Is it proof of reaching the first-rate mid-stage? Is it when sword and man become one? When you reach the peak realm, you always see the optimal path. Just follow it, and the sword key never fades. The optimal path I saw was merely the ultimate limit of my current swordsmanship. Sword kai is swordsmanship merged with the body, pushed to its absolute limit. For Eunhyun, swordsmanship was sword ki. He used to believe that, but now he suddenly woke up. That wasn't right. He recalled Moo-hoon's image. If that definition were true, wouldn't a puppet controlled by a cultivator emit sword ki if it used swordsmanship? In that very moment, Eunhyun realized the truth. Sword ki is not just swordsmanship. Even if born from the sword, its true core is the will of the martial artist. Those red and blue lines aren't just attack vectors or killing intent. They are the warrior's will, the direction of their battle spirit. The second Eunhyun grasped that truth, a strange sensation flooded his sword arm. It felt like blood vessels were extending from the blade, piercing back into his own flesh. While Eunhyun was lost in this new sensation, the assassin seized the chance and lunged. The killer tried to strike while he was distracted, but they had fatally underestimated Eunhyun. He instantly snapped into a counterattack. Seconds later, every blade thrown by the assassin was deflected by a single, powerful sweep of his sword. The terrifying force of the blow tore the veil right off the assassin's face. The killer's identity was revealed a woman, but Eunhyun didn't hesitate. He coldly slashed across her body. She was flung back several meters, helpless to block it. He told himself coldly, this isn't over yet. Eunhyun gripped his hilt tight. If he poured his will into the sword now. The assassin struggled to sit up, looking at him with confusion and fear. He continued answering the questions in his mind, and as he spoke them aloud for her to hear, he manifested it. This was sword silk. 10 years after reaching the peak realm, Eunhyun had finally entered the mid-stage and mastered sword silk. Eunhyun walked slowly toward the assassin, his shining blade in hand. His voice and expression were dripping with killing intent as he recognized a familiar face. He realized this woman was the Emperor's new court lady. He mocked her, a peak master at this age. If you had lived, you surely would have reached the 3 flowers gathering at the summit. The assassin stammered a question. Aren't you the infinite battle will? Eunhyun paused, slightly surprised. You know of me? Memories surfaced. 10 years ago, the world indeed called him infinite battle will, but over time, the people began calling him the infinite battle monster. The assassin trembled, her voice filled with resentment. My younger brother was even more talented than me. But because of that damned emperor? Oh, Eunhyun's face went dark. He spoke without emotion. Begging for sympathy is useless. Protocol dictates assassins be executed on the spot. Suddenly, shadow guards rushed in from behind. The leader shouted, "Another assassin!" The assassin panicked, trying to explain. "Infinite battle monster, you misunderstand. The commoners are dying slowly because of that bastard emperor's orders." Before she could finish, a slash ended her life. Blood sprayed everywhere. Eunhyun whispered, "I apologize, but in my position, being swayed by an assassin is a heavy crime." And just like that, he ruthlessly took the life of a female assassin. The sky that night was filled with twinkling stars, yet felt strangely gloomy and mournful. Eunhyun felt a twinge of regret for having to kill such a talent with his own hands. With the help of his fellow guards, he disposed of the body. Yet, his mind was troubled. Despite all the commotion and noise just now, as predicted, the Emperor never stepped out of his chambers. The Emperor's bedroom was sealed with a soundproof spell. It was as if he didn't care to hide that he was an immortal cultivator. After all, the Shadow Guards already knew. Those who have ascended to the absolute peak realm possess the ability to perceive the aura of immortal cultivators with their naked eyes. They guarded the Emperor without a single complaint. It was their sworn duty. Yin Xian muttered to himself. After all, assassination attempts against the Emperor had been skyrocketing lately. Recently, the Yan Kingdom was basking in a golden age of prosperity under the Emperor's reign. Sure, poverty still existed, but it wasn't so dire that people were driven to destitution and forced to become mountain bandits. Yin Xian wondered. Who was so hell-bent on sending assassins to kill the Emperor, moreover? This assassin was from the Yan Kingdom and even knew his title. After a moment of deduction, he glanced back at the floor. The assassin's corpse had already been scrubbed clean. Yin Xian made his exit. He would keep investigating slowly. After all, his real motive for entering the palace was to gather intel on the immortal cultivators. In the blink of an eye, 10 years flew by. Yin Xian was now diligently serving as a guard, building trust with the Emperor, while simultaneously abusing his authority to harvest information from every corner of the palace. Of course, he couldn't access the top-secret files, but simply by piecing together documents from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Yin Xian managed to unearth clues about the cultivator clans. He had finally pinpointed the exact regions where these cultivator clans resided. Yin Xian sighed in exhaustion. Digging up dirt on immortal cultivators was still a pain, but it was miles better than back when he was a strategist for the Murim Alliance. Besides, perhaps thanks to the fact that every single night, Yin Xian had to engage in actual combat. If this kept up, he might actually reach the 3 flowers gathering at the Summit Realm in this life. He then picked up the census report. Year 33 of the Hai Yuan era. Under the Emperor's grace, the number of orphans and beggars had dropped significantly, and consequently, new recruits for mountain bandits had completely vanished. After reading for a while, Yin Xian felt a bit suspicious. This was an official report from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, so why was it so sloppy? He muttered under his breath. The most important part is missing, and what's this about the beggar population decreasing? Yin Xian speculated. Did they just starve to death? If a massive number of civilians starved to death en masse, why didn't he know anything about it in his past life? They didn't ascend to a higher social class, nor did the Emperor distribute relief aid or create jobs for them. He was certain this was a silent purge. Furthermore, the Yan Kingdom hadn't faced any famine or war. Yin Xian recalled the assassin claiming that the commoners were dying off by the Emperor's command. This whole situation felt incredibly bizarre. The current Emperor might not be a saint, but he was at least a functioning ruler. So, where on earth did all those erased poor people go? Yin Xian curiously speculated. If even the officials are in the dark, then this likely involves the cultivator clans. Information gaps like this always led back to those damn cultivators. Yin Xian opened the window to catch a breeze. Maybe he should hand over this high-level investigation to Wu Sun. A few days later, at the Murim Alliance headquarters, the retirement ceremony for the first Alliance leader, Jin Wu Sun, was taking place. Many people regretted his withdrawal, but the man himself looked incredibly relieved. And for good reason. Wu Sun stepping down meant he had mastered all 6 volumes of the external martial scriptures and was setting off to hunt down those cultivators. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the wooden door. It was Yin Xian paying an unexpected visit. "You look pretty comfortable, don't you?" He was startled, thinking it was an assassin, but it was just him. "You look too comfortable," Wu Sun remarked. "Your aura is becoming more like an assassin's every day." Yin Xian laid out all the conclusions he had gathered from the palace. As expected, the moment he mentioned the cultivator clans were involved, Wu Sun's interest peaked immediately. Yin Xian proposed, "I'll tell you a few locations where the cultivators reside. I want you to go there and figure out what those bastards are plotting." He laughed heartily. "I've been dying to know what tricks they're up to." And just like that, through Jin Wu Sun, Yin Xian decided to expose the cultivator clan's conspiracy. That evening, the atmosphere was as quiet as ever. Inside the Imperial Palace, Yin Xian received a report that the North Gate was secure. He pondered. The number of assassin break-ins has dropped sharply. Looks like they can't just churn out infinite peak realm experts. Suddenly, a shadow guard screamed, "Assassin at the East Gate!" No sooner had the words left his mouth than flames erupted to Yin Xian's left. The unfortunate shadow guard was engulfed in flames, only able to shriek in agonizing pain. An assassin dressed like a mage appeared, clutching a talisman in his hand, and declared, "All of you are peak realm experts." Because of their annoying sensory abilities, his stealth techniques were useless. Yin Xian frowned in alert. "A cultivator? You've got to be kidding me." Even immortal cultivators are working as assassins now. A shadow guard shouted an order. "It's a cultivator. Everyone, stay sharp." The assassin laughed arrogantly and mocked. "You fools, do you really think you can fight me? The strongest opponents you've ever faced were merely cultivators at the first stage of the chi refining realm. But I am a cultivator who wields the power of the second stage," he declares with supreme confidence. "Once I've slaughtered every last one of you, I'll hunt down that piece of filth from the Moly branch family next." Barely finishing his sentence, he unleashes hell on the shadow guards, ruthlessly incinerating the entire squad in a horrifying display of power. As the assassin smirks with twisted satisfaction at the carnage, Yin Xian stands firm amidst the blaze, grip tightening around his blade, his eyes burn with battle-ready resolve. The assassin raises a brow in mock surprise, sneering, "Oh, you actually blocked that." He keeps taunting the boy, amused that a mere mortal who barely survived one strike dares to look at him with such defiance. A sudden boom echoes out, looming over Yin Xian. The assassin spits out a single, degrading insult, "Filthy insect." Meanwhile, things outside are getting chaotic. A soldier's sword suddenly snaps clean in two against an invisible wall. Realizing they've been locked out by a barrier, he panics, wondering what the hell is going on inside. A deafening roar erupts from within the palace, the entire compound now shrouded in an eerie, suffocating purple mist. One soldier cries out in terror, "Have cultivators breach the palace, go get reinforcements, now sapuasahas." Back inside, the palace has been reduced to a gray wasteland of ash and splattered blood. The sole surviving shadow guard gasps desperately for air, clinging to life. Suddenly, another explosion rips through the air, igniting a fresh wall of flames. Rapid footsteps hammer the ground. It's Yin Xian. He charges headfirst through the chaos, eyes locked on his target, his mind focused on a single lethal strike. He just needs to hold it for 1 second, just 1 second to manifest his sword aura. The assassin throws his head back, laughing arrogantly. "How many times do I have to teach you a weakling like you can never pierce my defensive barrier?" Ignoring the taunts, Yin Xian pours every ounce of his strength into his blade, driving it straight into the enemy's shield. The collision of energy screams through the air, a high-pitched screech that threatens to shatter eardrums. 1 second the assassin is gloating, the next, his eyes go wide in panic as he watches his impenetrable defense begin to crack. The barrier shatters, Yin Xian's blow connects, hammering the assassin until he can barely keep his footing. The assassin takes a heavy slash to the chest, but the recoil is brutal. Yin Xian pays a steep price, his own body screaming in pain. Damn it! That sword aura drained every drop of his true chi, only to shatter in an instant. Without natural talent, he can't maintain the form for even a single second. The assassin manages to land safely inside, his protective sphere, while Yin Xian is blown back, crashing hard onto the unforgiving ground. His allies watch in horror. Meanwhile, the assassin snaps, his eyes bloodshot with rage. He's going to make the boy pay for landing that hit. Without a shred of mercy, he stomps viciously on Yin Xian's spine. Thud, thud. Each blow forces a spray of blood from Yin Xian's mouth as his eyes roll back in agony. "Who do you think you are? You dare draw blood from me?" Rummaging through his sleeves, he snarls, "I was planning to keep you alive as bait for the Moly branch family. But you just changed my mind. Now, I'm going to riddle your body with holes and crush you until nothing remains." He finishes his threat by tossing a handful of spell talismans into the air. The talismans spin wildly, forming deadly miniature tornadoes. The surviving shadow guard screams a warning to Yin Xian, but it's too late to stop what's coming. The magical vortexes accelerate, shooting toward the boy and the guards like razor-sharp shurikens. In a split second, the two guards collapse, coughing up blood as the magical blades riddle their bodies. The assassin glances sideways at the dying men, his voice dripping with soft, terrifying contempt. "Don't interrupt me. Insects." He grinds his heel into Yin Xian's back again. "Struggle all you want. Against a cultivator, you mortals are just waiting to be crushed." The last surviving guards try to drag their broken bodies off the ground, glaring at the monster with pure, unadulterated hatred. Yin Xian is fading fast. He curses his own weakness, burning all his true chi in one burst has shredded his internal organs. Seeing the boy still breathing only fuels the assassin's rage. He stomps down hard, crushing Yin Xian's hand into the dirt. "Let's see how long you last, you little maggot." Yin Xian's spirit finally breaks, his eyes glazing over with hopelessness. He accepts it. Maybe he really is just a maggot. He gives up. No talent, no skill, even his life is worthless. He mumbles to himself, admitting that he's nothing more than trash. Seeing his victim so pathetic brings the assassin immense joy. He laughs maniacally. "What's that? Are you begging me for mercy?" It seems like the end. But deep inside, a spark of reason still flickers in Yin Xian's mind. He remembers the years of hellish training. The blood, sweat, and endurance. None of it was for nothing. With a guttural growl, Yin Xian forces his hand up, actually lifting the assassin's foot off the ground. The killer freezes in shock. While the cultivator stands there confused, He doesn't realize he just walked right into Yin Xian's trap. Yin Xian realized it the moment the fight started. This guy relies on magic. He's never trained his body. And he's never fought a real life or death battle with a blade. Yin Xian refused to accept it. That guy was nothing more than a lucky bastard born with superior talent who just happened to learn cultivation. There was no way Yin Xian would bow down and die before a punk like him. But all the agony he had endured over the years, was it all just a meaningless struggle? Was there really no way for Yin Xian to reach that level? No. He resolved right then and there he would never give up. Yin Xian roared in fury. Even the desperate writhing of a maggot isn't meaningless. He yanked the assassin down to the ground. The man thrashed and screamed, "You filthy peasant, shut your mouth and unhand me." Suddenly, the assassin froze, eyes wide with shock as 2 streams of blood trickled from his nose. Yin Xian stared at him with murderous intent. The poison has taken effect. This was all part of my plans. Breaking through his defensive barrier was just a distraction. The real weapon was the substance coating my blade. At this point, the assassin's entire body had completely lost control, ravaged by the poison. Panicked, he begged Yin Xian to give him the antidote immediately. Yin Xian replied with pure hatred, "You actually think I'd save you? Go ahead, taste the despair of the maggot you mocked." Yin Xian quickly clamped a hand over the man's mouth to stop the incantations, then bound his hands to prevent any hand seals. "Come on then," Yin Xian sneered. "Let's see you cast a spell now." Nearby, the shadow guards were shouting for backup, while the assassin slowly choked out his last breath. The barrier the assassin had created began to crack and shatter. Soldiers from outside swarmed in, their hurried footsteps thundering chaos across the floor. A while later, the atmosphere in the Imperial Palace stabilized, lifting the heavy gloom that had hung over it. The battle was finally over. 2 shadow guards helped Yin Xian to his feet. Before leaving, he glanced back one last time. "You called me a maggot, but looking at your corpse, you're no different." The scene shifts to the magnificent, opulent interior of the Imperial Palace. Yin Xian slowly opened his eyes just as a voice rang out. "You're finally awake." He coughed lightly and groaned. "Are you sure you should be smoking right next to a patient?" The captain of the Shadow Guard replied calmly. "What are you talking about?" "Tobacco is an excellent medicinal herb," Yin Xian thought to himself, helpless. What the hell? Right, this place is basically the Middle Ages. The captain explained what had happened, mentioning that His Majesty had personally assigned a physician to treat him. "Be grateful. You can feel it yourself, can't you? My body feels much lighter than before. It's no wonder these healers serve the king." Yin Xian wanted to learn from them. Catching him staring at his hand, the captain said, "About your right arm. The physician says you can still use it, but it won't be like before. It hasn't fully healed yet, so don't move it." Yin Xian had secretly expected this. He figured that Cultivator had completely crushed his hand. After a moment of thought, Yin Xian spoke up. "Just being able to use it at all is good enough." The captain looked relieved. "It's fortunate you're so optimistic. Also, the king has rewarded you for your service. Can you move?" Since he can't directly reward Shadow Guard members, I was tasked with bringing the reward to you. By the Emperor's decree, Yin Xian, Vice Captain of the Shadow Guard, for risking your life to protect the Emperor, I bestow upon you the Void Building Pill, a legendary elixir rumored to be used by cultivators. Yin Xian knelt respectfully on the floor. Long live His Majesty. Next, Yin Xian opened the box just as the captain spoke. "I heard it's an improved version of the Foundation Building Pill that cultivators use to break through from chi refining to Foundation establishment. It just lacks the essence. Though, honestly, I have no idea what essence even means." Meanwhile, Yin Xian instantly recognized it. It's the dregs of a Foundation Building Pill. He had worked at a medical center and concocted pills before. There was always residue left after every refinement. And the pill he had just received, was made entirely from those dregs. The captain clearly didn't know because he had never studied medicine. This was trash usually sold to drunks or cultists. It had absolutely no effect whatsoever. "The Emperor is a cheap scumbag." The captain kept rambling. "I also heard it can extend one's lifespan by 10 years. Yin Xian was stunned. 10 years. He couldn't believe it. How was that possible? Yin Xian knew the captain wanted the pill for himself, but couldn't do anything since the Emperor had personally gifted it to Yin Xian. Regaining his composure, Yin Xian said, "I will use it once the meridians in my body have stabilized." The captain didn't forget to remind him. "All right, make sure you etch His Majesty's grace into your heart." Internally, Yin Xian told himself he'd better use it right before he died to see if it actually worked. I guess this place has some real benefits after all. 10 years. If he took it right before his last breath, he would gain another 10 years of life. Thank heaven and earth he came here. This regression was definitely going to go smoothly. Under the clear blue sky, the sun beat down relentlessly. In the training yard, a heavy sword clattered to the ground. He stared at his trembling hand and muttered, "Damn it. It hurts like hell." Yin Xian realized the grim reality. His body had healed, but every time he gripped the sword, agony pierced through his arm, straight to the marrow. He couldn't even execute the mountain-splitting sword technique anymore. Is this it? Is my path of martial arts over in this regression? No. After enduring endless agony and tribulation, He has finally reached the peak realm. This level of pain, it's nothing. It won't stop Yin Xian. Agony has become his constant companion, stalking him like a shadow. Yin Xian will never give up. He is destined to break through to a whole new realm. Time flies, rushing past like a flowing river. Another 10 years pass. It has now been 30 years since his regression. By now, Yin Xian has grown numb to the searing pain in his right hand. He has perfected his sword threads and mastered the art of stealth. But most importantly, Yin Xian has nearly deciphered every hidden secret within the letter sent by his brother, Wu Xun. Most immortal cultivators conceal their homes and locations behind incredibly powerful array formations. The weaker cultivators build their residences in the mortal world. But those with true talent, or the descendants of prestigious clans, spend their entire lives hidden within those protected arrays. However, even mortals living within a cultivator's territory aren't safe. They are forced into servitude or used as wretched slaves. According to Wu Xun's latest letter, one of these cultivator clans is the mastermind sending peak realm masters to assassinate the imperial family. They have been gathering talented mortals, dragging them to their territory, and training them into peak realm experts. Now he understands the situation. It's highly likely that all those beggars who vanished from the records were taken there. They were either trained to become cold-blooded assassins, or forced to live out the rest of their miserable lives as slaves. Considering they eventually sent actual cultivators, it's clear the Emperor is also entangled in this war between the immortal clans. Yin Xian reminds himself to push these thoughts aside and focus on his martial Dao. But right at that moment, Wu Xun appears through the window. What the? Talking to yourself. Yin Xian can't believe his eyes. He stammers, "Brother, I just finished reading all your letters and burned them." Wu Xun sighs, shaking his head. "I sent those letters a month ago. To think they only just arrived. I came here personally because I discovered something." Yin Xian's curiosity piques. "What do you mean?" Wu Xun swings his sword. "Let me break these suspicious arrays first. There are 2 immortal cultivator clans in the Yan Kingdom. You know this, right?" "Yes, I read it in your letter. One is the clan of the current emperor, and the other is..." Wu Xun cuts him off mid-sentence. "Correct. The Qin clan, the clan of the former emperor. These 2 families have been fighting for control of this nation for ages. The Qin clan sat on the throne for centuries, but 100 years ago, the Moli clan overthrew them, seized the throne, and began their rule. Since then, the Qin clan's power has severely declined. That is why they recruit mortals and train them as assassins." Yin Xian nods, confirming again. "Right, I learned that from your letters." But Wu Xun keeps talking, his voice intense. Here's the most important part. How can the Qin clan take mere mortals and turn them into peak realm masters? How can they mass-produce experts like that? The Qin clan fuses the souls of family members into the assassin's body to awaken their talent to the absolute limit. Yin Xian gasps PS in horror. "Family souls, you mean?" The Qin clan kills their families and stuffs their souls inside them. Wu Xun immediately shakes his head. "No, the one killing them is the current emperor." He reveals the name behind it all, the Moli clan. Yin Xian lets out a shocked gasp. Wu Xun explains in grim detail. For the past 20 or 30 years, the Moli clan has been using orphans and beggars to refine pills. They harvest the blood and souls of mortals to create elixirs of longevity for cultivators. They target the poor because no one cares when they disappear. Yin Xian is reeling. Isn't that cannibalism?" Wu Xun nods grimly. "Exactly. They are eating people." Yin Xian covers his mouth, nauseous. Cultivators doing such a thing. Aren't they supposed to be righteous, not a demonic sect or evil cult? These are the ones meant to ascend to the 9 heavens. Yin Xian falls to his knees, retching violently. His composure shatters. I can't take this anymore. It disgusts me. The Emperor's cultivators are eating people, yet I've spent my whole life protecting them. How many innocents have I helped kill with these 2 hands? Wu Xun continues his story. The Qin clan contacted me. They know I'm targeting the Moli clan. They want me to help them overthrow the current rule. I agreed. Anyone who eats their own kind does not deserve to live, let alone rule this country. I have gathered martial experts who share our vision. Yin Xian, come with me. Once the Qin clan reclaims the throne, this rotten world might get a little better. Yin Xian frowns in thought. This could be the endgame of his regression. Is this the real reason the Foundation establishment cultivators stopped me that day? This is the moment he has been waiting for. Finally, he nods. "All right, I will go with you, brother." Yin Xian moves immediately. That very day, he leaves the Imperial Palace with Wu Xun to join the rebellion against the Moli clan. Yin Xian's journey continues. We arrive at an ancient manor on the outskirts of Shijing City. Every martial arts master in the Jianghu has gathered here. The elders of the Purple Star, the 3 demons, and even the leaders of the great sects are present. All of them have reached the peak realm. Among them, more than 10 have unlocked the 3 flowers gathering at the summit. If those damn cultivators didn't exist, this group could flatten the imperial capital in their sleep. But a grumpy elder muttered, "Why drag along a government dog, especially one who licks the emperor's boots?" Another old man cut in bluntly, "I refuse to trust anyone with ties to the imperial court." And he ended some quick mental math. There was only one way to win them over. A split second later, he screamed at the top of his lungs, "That bastard emperor needs to drop dead and get out of my sight." And Hien's sheer intensity left everyone stunned. He unleashed every ounce of pent-up rage, screaming curse after curse at the emperor. And Hien didn't hold back, roaring, "A scumbag like you should just rot in hell." His ferocity actually started to sway them. After a solid session of trash-talking the ruler of the nation, the martial artist finally spoke up in a panic. One shouted that he believed on Hien now, while others covered their ears, muttering terrified prayers, spouting treason like that. Even a spy would get his head chopped off just for letting those words leave his mouth. And Hien wiped his mouth with a look of genuine regret. Damn shame. I still had so much more I wanted to say about that guy. Everything went exactly according to An Hien's plan. The top-tier martial artist accepted him, and the group set off to annihilate one of the evil cultivator's strongholds. Scene shift to a mountain range, shrouded in thick fog. The Qin family cultivator spoke up, grudgingly admitting, "You're actually not half bad." But An Hien froze, stunned. That outfit. It was identical to the one worn by the cultivator who tried to assassinate the emperor a few years back. So, that guy was a cultivator from the Qin family all along. At the same time, Vo Huan stepped forward and proposed, "I've kept my promise and gathered those with a shared will. Now, allow us to join you in wiping out those evil cultivation scum." The cultivator agreed. "Fine, get ready to move out." But seeing Vo Huan walk away, and Hien asked, confused, "Brother, where are you going?" Vo Huan urged him, "I have a place I need to visit first. Follow me." And Hien hurriedly ran after him, still scratching his head. "Brother Vo Huan, seriously, where are we headed?" When they arrived, Vo Huan explained, "This is the resting place of those murdered by the Moli family. I gathered whatever remains I could find and tried to build them a proper grave." And Hien couldn't believe it and gasped, You buried all these people with your own hands." Vo Huan began casting a spell, speaking softly, a mantra to guide them to the heavens. "These souls are still filled with resentment after being slaughtered by the Moli clan. I just want them to find peace. I learned this guidance mantra from the Qin family cultivators. An Hien, remember this, not all cultivator magic is evil. What matters is how it's used. Keep your humanity. Don't just get lost in the pursuit of power." And Hien fell silent, absorbing the man's heartfelt words. Lesson over. Vo Huan urged, "Let's go. Steel yourself." In no time, they returned to the original gathering point. At this moment, the Qin cultivator clasped his hands together. All right then, opening the portal to the Moli territory. He began to cast his spell with deadly seriousness. A gateway to the Moli domain materialized instantly, and Hien was completely awestruck witnessing the scene. The scenery shifted completely, but the air, it reeked of thick blood and rotting flesh. Suddenly, a scream rang out from the fortress walls. "Intruders! Those Qin family dogs dare to come here." In the next second, a shimmering barrier surrounded the walls. The Qin cultivator scoffed from the outside. "You Moli trash. Your defensive formation is as refined as always." Vo Huan stepped forward with total composure, ignoring the shocked looks from everyone else. The Qin cultivator whispered to an elder, "Who is that mortal? He's walking right past us and acting like he owns the place." The Qin cultivator wasn't actually annoyed by the arrogance. He thought, "He may be immortal, but he's no ordinary man. Hard to believe, but he and I were once evenly matched." He gasped, unable to process that fact. Right then, Vo Huan conjured a glowing sphere radiating massive pressure. He gritted his teeth, struggling to keep his own power under control. And Hien watched closely and instantly realized, that realm, he surpassed the 5 chi returning to origin. Vo Huan focused his energy and unleashed a martial technique with a swing of his arm. Boom! A cataclysmic explosion rocked the ground ahead. Everyone stood frozen, shocked by his raw power. The Qin cultivator, however, didn't look surprised at all. The defensive barrier ahead couldn't handle the impact and slowly dissolved. A horde of aggressive Jiangshi charged out from the inside. Seeing the situation, he shouted the order, "Smash through those zombies and storm the castle." Both sides clashed, creating a scene of absolute chaos, and Hien gripped his sword and charged in heroically, slicing down the undead. The Moli cultivators panicked and yelled. These bastards are supreme martial masters, 1st and 2nd star chi condensation disciples. Fall back and call for reinforcements. And Hien stared intently, analyzing the enemy. He looked at those familiar Jiangshi and their outfits. And Hien quickly realized, that bastard I fought before, he was a Moli cultivator. Wait, how can I see this? That's weird. Aren't these threads supposed to represent killing intent? So why would a bunch of soulless zombies have killing intent? Is it the will of the cultivator controlling them? No, that's not it. And why can't the zombies use sword chi? So, he is the puppet master pulling the strings. Judging by the range of his spiritual sense, he is roughly at the 1st star of the chi refining stage. In a flash, Yin Xian charges, his blade swinging down on a cultivator. The man panics, begging, "Please, spare my life." Yin Xian grabs the trembling cultivator, a frown of confusion crossing his face. What the hell? Countless zombie corpses litter the ground around them. Terrified of ending up just like them, the cultivator spills everything to save his own skin. I'll tell you everything. This This is just the first stage of purification. Yin Xian's expression darkens instantly. First stage of purification, he demands. The cultivator stammers in fear. Yes, we extract blood and chi from mortals, then engrave a master formation to create origin blood. When we hand this over to the higher-ups, they take it to a superior realm. There, they perform a secondary purification by mixing the origin blood. After the fifth purification, they refine the life force of thousands of mortals to create longevity pills. They're exclusively for the elders at the golden core stage. If you want, take it. I'll give you all the origin blood I've refined. Just take it. These pills are powerful. If you consume them, your chi will. But before he can finish his desperate pitch, Yin Xian cuts him off cold. Thanks. Hearing that, now I don't have to hesitate to kill you. Suddenly, a spear tears through the air with terrifying momentum. Yin Xian is forced to release the cultivator to dodge. Staring at the attacker, Yin Xian gasps in total disbelief. Captain, The Shadow Guard captain is seething with rage. He growls, "Shut your mouth, I will never forgive a traitor." Boom, a barrage of explosions erupts around them. Yin Xian is baffled. A traitor, Captain? Do you have any idea what the royal family is actually doing right now? The captain charges, confirming he knows exactly what's happening. Yet he launches a ruthless attack without hesitation. Yin Xian blocks, furious. And you still serve this corrupt court? Is that really what a human being should do? The captain ignores the moral question entirely. Before we are humans, we are the Emperor's dogs. Tools do not think, we only execute orders. Yin Xian counters, feeling suffocated by this blind loyalty. In the eyes of the Emperor, mortals like us are nothing more than livestock. Impact. Yin Xian is knocked back. As he skids to a halt, he analyzes his opponent. Your martial arts have improved, Captain. You're standing right at the threshold of the Three Flowers Gathering. Suddenly, the Shadow Guard captain asks a sharp question. And what makes them any different? The remnants of the Qin family you're conspiring with? Are those imperial bastards any better? Yin Xian retorts immediately. Compared to those demons, but the captain cuts him off before he can finish. No, the Qin family are cultivators too. The only difference is the scale of their cruelty. In the end, they'll slaughter every citizen in the Yan Kingdom just the same. They might even be worse than what we have now. Yin Xian feels the killing intent closing in. He curses internally. I'm getting sucked into his pace. I can't stop it. But then, he notices a strange light flickering. What is that? Burning with rage, the captain screams his logic. If both sides are trash, then I have no reason to abandon my loyalty. He thrusts his spear forward, a fatal strike aimed straight for the heart. Yin Xian sees it coming. A chi blast. Does he plan to end this in one hit? Unafraid, he steadies his voice. If that is your conviction, then so be it. Yin Xian unleashes the mountain-breaking sword art. In a split second, the captain's entire offensive crumbles. The captain stares, unable to believe his eyes. Yin Xian stands tall amidst the debris. Then I will respect your choice. Yin Xian reflects on the strike. It was the only form capable of blocking that chi blast. But the power? He still can't fully control it. The Shadow Guard captain clutches the stump where his arm used to be, gritting his teeth in agony. That sword art. I have seen it many times, yet it remains profound and unpredictable. Yin Xian steps forward and admits, it is a sword intent that is still too advanced for someone like me. The captain collapses, trembling. Too advanced. Why would you say that? That strike? It was the enlightenment of the Three Flowers Gathering. It was the most beautiful form I have ever seen. My entire life, I have pursued the martial way, dreaming of reaching that very state. But when I finally touched it, I realized the harsh truth. Even that peak is merely the lowest rung in the world of immortal cultivation. I realized that martial arts alone can never defeat those monsters. It is a pity that your path and mine had to diverge. Yin Xian listens in silence. After a moment, he turns to the other guards. Why didn't any of you interfere in our duel? If you had jumped in while I was fighting the captain, I would be the one lying dead right now. A Shadow Guard steps forward. It was the captain's final order. He said that if we interfered, you, our former vice captain, would resort to lethal poisons and hidden weapons. He wanted a duel of pure martial arts. Yin Xian is taken aback. You still call me vice captain? The guard clasps his hands respectfully. Once a superior, always a superior. Once loyal, always loyal. And the Emperor we swore our lives to remains our eternal master. Yin Xian looks at their determined faces. So, you choose to remain loyal to this corrupt court to the bitter end. I'm sorry. But today, I have to kill all of you. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, the zombie horde has been decimated. The cultivator, realizing his shield is gone, screams in pure terror. Wu Xun seized the moment and barked the order. Everyone, charge destroy their furnace. Instantly, weapons were drawn. The Qin family cultivators and their allies surged forward, unleashing their martial arts to slaughter the demon horde. Seeing the tide turn, the enemy cultivator screamed in panic, "Where are our reinforcements, and where the hell is that bastard?" On the other side, the battle was brutal. A sharp blade was snapped in two in an instant, and a Shadow Guard cried out in pain. Yin Xian, too, had taken heavy blows. The guard looked at him, perplexed. He questioned, "Why did you choose such a harsh path, using paralysis poison? You could have easily killed us. If you wanted, you could have taken us down without a scratch. Why pick this thorny road?" Yin Xian glanced at them and asked, "You guys just called me vice captain, didn't you?" The shadow guard froze, then slumped to the ground, gasping, "Don't tell me. You've realized a new realm. Have you reached the three flowers gathering at the summit, but I didn't see the red glow of harmony?" Yin Xian sheathed his sword. "Sorry, I haven't stepped into that realm yet, but I'm starting to feel it. I saw the third color," Yin Xian thought, "but the purple is unstable. I need more death matches to stabilize it." From the roof, the crown prince of the Moli family watched everything. "Impressive. Vice Captain, your martial arts have reached this level. Now I understand why Father sent me." Yin Xian looked up, surprised by the sudden appearance. The Moli prince glared down at him. "If you were watching this whole time, why didn't you show yourself?" The prince sat up slowly. "I told you not to call me prince. But fine, keep calling me that. Do you know why I became the crown prince?" Yin Xian's eyes widened as he realized something. The Moli prince radiated overwhelming murderous intent. "Because I reached the 4-star chi refining realm at a young age equal to my father. Your 3 flowers trick is only equal to a 1 or 2-star cultivator at best, and you think you can defeat me, someone who is already 4-star. Do you think someone like me needs guards?" Yin Xian could feel the crushing pressure of his power. Even a master of the 3 flowers would die fighting him, Yin Xian calculated, and I've only touched the edge of that realm. If I fight him, I will die. Yet, strangely, a smile began to form on Yin Xian's lips. It was because he didn't fear death. If he could grasp that final thread of enlightenment, dying immediately after didn't matter. If one hears the Tao in the morning, one can die in the evening without regret. Isn't that what you taught me? I couldn't grasp that martial Tao against Foundation establishment cultivators before, but now, I understand. The prince sneered. "Rushing to your death, Vice Captain? You're stupider than I thought." Yin Xian launched off the ground. Heavenly Martial Tao secret record. He unleashed a vicious strike toward the prince, combining it with the lunar martial arts. He leaped high into the air, sword raised. As he slashed, a mysterious dark aura engulfed him, and Yin Xian merged with the black mist, vanishing completely. He disappeared right before the Moli prince's eyes, leaving him completely stunned. The prince darted his eyes around, searching frantically. Where the hell did he go? Yin Xian was using the stealth art. Now he truly understood the secret record, a technique to break all limits of cultivation. The lunar martial arts had reached the pinnacle, transcending worldly limits. Before, Yin Xian had only memorized the scriptures without understanding a single word. Even with the divine manual, he couldn't learn it. But the moment he saw that purple path, he finally understood the heavenly martial Tao secret record. In a battle of consciousness, can't one attack the killing intent itself? Before reaching the edge of the 3 flowers realm, he couldn't comprehend it. Now, it was clear. Yin Xian's eyes snapped open. The strip of purple light before him became distinct and sharp. Killing intent is will. To strike the killing intent is to cut off the opponent's perception, to sever their very awareness. The Moli prince was still spinning around, looking for him, while Yin Xian stood right in front of his face. This is the divine art that made Brother Wu Xun vanish like a ghost, Yin Xian realized. It cuts off perception, making me invisible to his senses. A martial art that lets a warrior stand equal to a cultivator. A technique created by humans to defy the heavens. The sword struck energy, creating a deafening, high-pitched screech. Yin Xian's sword strikes Crown Prince Moli's body, but it bounces off harmlessly. The prince scowls at the blade, then glares at Yin Xian with pure annoyance. "You bastard. What kind of cheap parlor trick is this?" Yin Xian realizes the truth in horror. It's a defensive barrier formed by the prince's cultivation magic. Before he can react, the backlash slams into him, hurling him backward with massive force. He crashes into a nearby manor, the impact triggering an explosion that buries the area in thick dust and debris. Crown Prince Moli sneers, "Not bad for a dirty trick, but useless against a true immortal cultivator like me." As he speaks, he channels his energy, summoning a massive tornado. The vortex grinds slowly toward Yin Xian. The situation is dire, but he calculates the distance he can still dodge this. But the main tornado isn't coming alone. It spawns dozens of smaller, razor-sharp wind vortices that race ahead to hunt him down. Yin Xian pushes his body to the limit, weaving desperately through the barrage of terrifying energy. The tornado devours everything in its path, including the corpses from the earlier battle, shredding flesh and stone alike into nothingness. Trapped in a critical state, Yin Xian debates using the heavenly martial secret arts to close the distance. He immediately rejects the idea every gust of wind in this storm is a literal blade. If he gets close, he'll be ripped to shreds. Even if he somehow survives the approach, the prince is still protected by that impenetrable defensive formation. His only chance is to stay outside the cultivator's range of divine sense and read the killing intent to dodge the attacks. But Yin Xian knows the grim reality. A martial artist's internal force is impure compared to a cultivator's spiritual energy. No matter how deep his reserves, he will burn out long before his enemy does. Stalling is a death sentence. He needs to end this fight right now. To do that, He must achieve the three flowers gathering at the summit instantly. Crown Prince Mo Li senses a shift in the air, but he can't figure out what Yin Xian is planning. The prince pauses, surprised. Why isn't the rat running? Yin Xian has stopped moving and is staring him dead in the eye. What's the matter? Finally ran out of stamina. A razor-sharp wind vortex hurtles straight for his face, but Yin Xian stands terrifyingly still. No fear, no hesitation. Grip tightening, he unleashes the mountain-breaking sword arts, chaining it instantly into the cloud-stepping technique. In a flash, Yin Xian's blade slashes outward, tearing the tornado in half. Crown Prince Mo Li's eyes go wide in disbelief. Yin Xian is already heavily injured, his sword arm feeling like it's being ripped apart. But he forces himself forward. He cannot back down, not a single step. More wind vortices swarm him. Yin Xian doesn't blink. Mountain-breaking sword, dragon, flow sword. Dance, he executes a continuous sword combo, slashing through every single tornado that dares to approach. Even with his body covered in wounds, Yin Xian screams internally at his own soul. Don't stop, even if your body is torn to pieces, you do not stop. Seeing such insane determination, a flicker of anxiety hits the Crown Prince. He quickly casts another spell, growling, "You audacious filth." The scattered wind coalesces into a grotesque, terrifying beast. Standing beneath the roaring storm, the prince glares down, wishing for nothing but Yin Xian's immediate death. Yin Xian analyzes the threat instantly. He can't block this. He can't dodge this. Every instinct screams the same thing. If this hits, he dies. Yet, strangely, fear is gone. He's focused entirely on a faint purple trail of killing intent. He asks himself, what is this purple light? He sees a green aura radiating from his body. That's the will to survive. The red aura is the will to kill. The red comes from the enemy, but the purple? What does the purple mean? He doesn't have the answer yet. Suddenly, it clicks. Purple is the mixture. It's the intersection of defense and slaughter, the point where his will and the enemy's will collide. Seizing the moment of distraction, the prince's wind beast roars and lunges forward to deliver the killing blow. Yin Xian is still processing. He always thought the enemy's will was red, but from their perspective. They are the green light of self-preservation, and he is the red light of danger. The will of the other, and the will of the self. In the end, it's just a matter of perspective. Aren't they all the same color? Clarity washes over him as he snaps back to reality, blade ready. The martial way is incomplete in isolation. You must connect with your opponent. You must enter a state where you reflect your own actions through the enemy's will. This is the true meaning of three flowers gathering at the summit. By reflecting his own consciousness inside the prince's will, he realizes just how much energy he's been wasting all this time. Truth unlocked. Yin Xian funnels every ounce of power into his blade. The steel erupts with blinding light sword chi. He used to wonder why his body couldn't hold sword chi for more than a second, even with full power. Now he knows the martial way isn't about using your own strength alone. It is only when you connect with the will of your opponent, and the will of heaven and earth, that you can achieve the true martial way. With a final roar, Yin Xian unleashes the mountain-breaking sword arts combined with the fifth form, aiming straight for the Mo Li Crown Prince. With a single horizontal slash, the boy tears the Mo Li Crown Prince's beast in two. The air explodes with debris, dust billowing blindly as shattered fragments fly everywhere, leaving a scene of utter devastation. Meanwhile, the squad of shadow guards lies collapsed on the ground, completely immobilized by Yin Xian's paralysis powder. Having witnessed the entire battle, they all accepted the inevitable outcome that this desperate struggle was completely meaningless. After all, their opponent is an immortal cultivator, a being far superior to any martial artist, but destiny is never written in stone. At that very moment, absolute shock fills the eyes of every guard. And Xian has officially broken through to the realm he has always hungered for, the three flowers gathering at the summit. Yeah,